Welcome to SicEm365 Radio, presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com.
Jameson was coming after him, still chasing the quarterback, and forces him back inside. The ball out as he hit the ground. And the officials say the Bears have it.
They drop out in coverage. Under pressure, Ellinger! It's Lynch. And James Lynch wraps him up.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
On the fake, on the slant, it's Denzel Mims, and the Bears take the lead.
Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It is week number 2 of SicEm365 Radio. Craig, what episode?
6.
Episode 6. We're loaded up today with guests. We have great topics. And I just added a guest, Adam McClintock. He is on Twitter, is at CFB_professor. He, guys, has put together like an all-decade college football playoff. And there are, I think there's 4 or 5 Baylor teams involved. The problem is each one of them is matched up almost immediately with one of the highest-ranked seeds, whether it's the 2013 or 14 Big 12 championship team, the 15 team that was really, really good that fell just short, or even 19 that fell short in the Sugar Bowl. But every one of them, they're matched up like against Clemson and Alabama, 4 of the 5 teams. And so we'll go over that, Paul. The Florida State, I think Jameson Winston, was that 13?
Yep.
They were like a top 4 seed.
Yeah, it should have been.
2019 LSU, the number 1 seed. 2018 Clemson, the number 2 seed. And then I believe Alabama, like in 15 or whatever it was. And then, of course, last year's, and then Florida State with Jameis Winston. Okay. You guys see how much Bob Stoops was making with the XFL?
Yeah, he has $1 million out to claim.
Yeah, he was making pretty good money. Oliver Luck was the one that was apparently making really good money for the XFL, but
probably why he didn't respond to calls when he
right.
I mean, he had a real vested interest in a lot of stock options in that, and then to all of a sudden go bankrupt, which they filed today for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and I think they filed several different bankruptcy protections because of all the different ways that league was financed, and man.
Yeah, a lot of money out there, and so Bob Stoops, Barry Switzer's one of our guests today. That's Oklahoma ties, so just a little bit faux pas. Now, here's another note that I thought. Did you see where Dak Prescott had a police officer show up at his house and wanted to know whether or not he had been the Prosper Police Department, that they received an anonymous call that Dak was in violation of social distancing because of pictures of he and others, Daz, whoever, Zeke working out. You know, let me
also had a party apparently.
Well,
yes,
alleged.
No, it wasn't alleged. There's pictures from said party. They've got one of the Dallas restaurants up there that had catered it, and I saw where some of the detractors to the story, because, hey, I'm a Cowboys fan, so they can do no wrong, leave them alone. Well, there were pictures from the party. Now, how those pictures came to be, somebody was obviously a part of that scene and thought, ooh, I'm going to grab some snapshots and pass them along and, be that guy. But it wasn't a good look, regardless of how you slice it, given our current times. And I'm not over the moon about it. I'm not going to go like Skip Bayless on the Cowboys and demand that Jerry, draw a line in the sand for Dak and Zeke and tell them to stay home. But it is very flippant of them, the way that you've seen them multiple times over the last week with Dez and others, out there practicing close to each other, doing all of that, then having a party with, apparently 30 people or whatever it was. I don't mind it because, hey, go live your life and do what you do, but I do know there are a lot of people out there that look up to a Dak Prescott or Ezekiel Elliott, and they're like, well, why should we stay inside if these guys are out there partying? And I think it sends a bad message, but again, I'm not, freaking out over it.
Yeah, who has the time, though, to turn them in? I know everyone has time now, but
everybody does.
Would that be something you would call in?
I don't know. I don't know if it was happening in my neighborhood and we were under strict lock and key. I probably wouldn't call it in, but I'd certainly be salty at the person in the neighborhood. I don't know. And I think what people and what Dak needs to realize in all this is that more than likely, look, nothing's going to come of the party that you had. Mm-hmm. More than likely. But the fact is that right now is the kind of time where if something did come of it, it's way more likely to happen than any other time that you've had it, and it's just a bad look.
Right.
It's the look of, well, we don't have to. We're Dallas Cowboys. We don't have to. It's different for me. It's different for me. It's different for me. It's not. It's the same for all of us, and it's a really bad look.
The big difference is, and they ensured the police department when the police department apparently arrived, the Prosper PD, that there was only 10 people, or it wasn't more than 10 people, so technically they were within the guidelines, and if they were, great, and shame on that person for trying to paint a different picture, but yeah, it sets a bad example, and the thing about those guys, they're millionaires, and we saw how quickly everybody in the NBA seemed to get a COVID-19 test, whereas the general public has a little bit of a more difficult time. That's the benefit of being a millionaire and being an athlete, and those guys have that benefit, so if they got sick, then they're immediately taken care of, whereas you, me, Paul, we're kind of, we're dangling a little bit.
All right, well, here's what I did earlier today. I had my annual physical, which I could have pushed back. I called and spoke with my doctor and the nurse that I've known for almost a decade, as far as, because that's where I've gone. They used to be at Hillcrest. Now they're over near the Central Texas Marketplace. And so I called them on Friday. I said, what the heck? It's just a physical. Would you guys have gone?
I rescheduled one last week just because I thought that they were going to do telehealth, and I just said, well,
you can't have a physical.
Yeah, so I rescheduled it, and then afterwards I was like, well, that was dumb. I should have just gone.
I guess so.
Yeah, so I went. I called again this morning. I said, I just want to make sure, because they have had some tents behind their facility, which are swab tents. It was so windy and cold today. I mean, you had to, obviously that's the worst thing you'd want to do, is be out in the cold. So I walk in I call, I said, okay, you sure this is okay? And they said, yeah, none of it's in the building. Everything's kind of secluded. So I walk in, and I walk into the front door. And by the way, David Smoak, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, SicEm365 Radio. And there's two nurses right there as you walk right in the front door. One of them's at a station where she wants to roll the temperature across your forehead. They ask questions. I go in, I check in. They go, okay, now we need you to go sit out in your car, and your nurse will call your cell phone when it's time.
That's so strange.
So I go out in the car. I wasn't there 5 minutes. I go back in. I see the nurse. You get your vitals and all that. And then my doctor, Dr. Hines, who's fantastic, he looks worn out. And I just think it's just stress of everything. But all of everything, I got my blood test.
How many people, if you
got a shingles shot, which, by the way, I heard that's going to cost me for a couple of days, and I had a tetanus shot.
Well, if you're just a family practice doctor, a regular doctor, and somebody has an allergy attack on Tuesday, and 5 people have allergy attacks on Tuesday, well, Wednesday, guess what? You're going to get bombarded. And they're going to say, "Oh, I've got it. I'm just concerned." Okay, well, there's a tent out back. We'll swab you.
And they do. They have the tents out back. It's kind of like, it's almost morbid looking. Not kind of a little bit spooky, surreal. But I got it. I got everything done. Got my lab work, and I'll get my test results, mainly because of just at my age, 60, almost 61, prostate, whatever else.
But they didn't give you a test, right? You didn't get the
swab in your nose because
test.
I don't. Again, I could go to sleep tonight and wake up with it. I don't know. And then, of course, I said, hey, by the way, this Purell, can I take this with me? Take the bottle with me. So I got that done.
I'm glad that you mentioned your prostate, because Leon did ask, did they check your prostate on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line?
Thanks, Leon. And Leon's been through that. Leon, it's very personal to Leon, as we told that story a week ago today, that he has been through the ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs of that. And as you know, Craig, my oldest brother, Robert, has been through an enormous amount of testing and had to go through all sorts of stuff, and he's now, it appears to be, it's a record-setting drop from the numbers he had to where he is today, which is still never out of it once you have it. But so that's, and he did a genetic test to make sure that it wasn't in the family. My dad had a little flare-up with it, but the doctor seemed to be okay. Now, all right, so that's part of life today.
And Leon did hit us up on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line at 254-339-1122, which is what you can use to hit us up at any point in time during the show. You got a question for a guest, just a comment you want to pass along. Again, 254-339-1122. Thank you to Riverbend Liquor and Wine.
Yes, sir.
And also, if you use it to sign up for a credit card, I will find you and put you down.
Today, Randy White, the Manster, the great Hall of Fame defensive tackle, at 3:30. Era Rawls is going to join us today. Era Rawls the third from La Vega, and how high school players are trying to stay engaged and stay focused on staying in shape or doing whatever they can, he'll join us today at 3:45. He's a quarterback. He'll start for them at quarterback, defensive back a year ago.
Well, Vega wouldn't have spring football because they're a 4A school, but they're still be doing stuff right now. So
Jameson Houston at 4.
Who is probably the most overlooked Baylor player,
I agree,
by far when it comes to the upcoming draft. And I know that he's not anticipated to be like a top 3-4 rounds guy, so he's not going to get the attention of Denzel, obviously, or James Lynch. But, man, he's got size. He was solid, and I think he's got some potential. I think there will be some NFL teams that are at least intrigued by him.
He's in that third day, and I spoke with his agent, and they're really excited. I also, again, I've spoken a lot with Phil Bennett about players who are now coming out because they recruited a lot of them, and about Jameson Houston is a great story. J.J. Joe at 4:30, Chuck Cooperstein, Coop at 4:45, and Barry Switzer will join us today in the 5 o'clock hour. We have, okay, I'm not very good about keeping secrets. What do you think I should do?
I have no idea what the secret is, so go right, or unless it's what you just told me a few moments ago, so go right ahead.
Should I keep it? Yes or no?
No.
Kurt Schilling tomorrow at 4.
Oh, my God.
Charlie Ward Wednesday at 3:30.
Are you guys just messing with me?
No.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Now,
not your birthday, but birthday, Paul.
Tomorrow, Paul's off at 4. Wednesday, 3. Okay, now I got them in. We'll have Nick Florence tomorrow. We've got Randy Galloway Thursday at 4. Man, what a conversation that was with him. Odell James at 4:30. His son's a quarterback at Corsicana, a junior. So that's just the start. I cannot explain all the other ones, but so you be on your best behavior because I have suspended you from those segments before.
You guys don't need to be here for those two. You just don't need to.
So you're going to have who?
I'll go take Woodrow for a walk while they're on.
You guys don't need
I hope Woodrow gets rambunctious at 4 tomorrow. Have you ever spoken with him?
Kurt Schilling? We had him on at the Super Bowl in Indianapolis.
But I mean, I cannot explain Steve Diassi and many others who have responded this week about our story. Some of them can relate to us in the radio business, and or Kurt Schilling was fantastic, and obviously Charlie Ward was fantastic. So we'll have some of them coming up the rest of this week. Nate Newton tomorrow night at 5. So, okay, now, this is 3,464 readers of theathletic.com. There was a survey, and the survey then, these are the top 12 vote getters for favorite college football program. Give me your top 4. This is 3,464. That's a nice swath
of their favorite college football program.
It's like if you list one team, like Craig would be Oklahoma, you would be Florida State, mine would be Nebraska. The listeners, a lot of them would be Baylor or Texas or A&M or TCU or whoever else. Who would be the number one out of 3,500 people who were surveyed?
I'm going to guess LSU just because they just won.
Number 7.
Okay.
Bama
is not in the top 12.
Yeah, they've won too much.
Most hated, yeah.
Clemson
is at 11.
Okay.
All right, Ohio State.
2.
There you go.
Notre Dame is still there.
Yeah.
Texas is not a part of the top 12. Oregon's actually 12. Here's what Stuart Mandel wrote about this. Let me see here. It says numbers 11 and 12 are noteworthy. However, I don't imagine Clemson would have shown up had it not been for their incredible run the last 5 years. They're 11, Oregon's 12. And Oregon has just reached the point where it outpaces the likes of Tennessee, Texas, and USC. That doesn't mean that this survey is flawless. No. But that's interesting. Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Georgia, Alabama, they're at number 6, Now, how many games do you typically when we cover Baylor, that takes up 8 hours of our day. The pregame.
I still watch 2 other games.
Okay, how many would you say on an average? How many games do you watch on a typical fall Saturday?
If I'm not covering a game and I'm here, I'll watch at least 5 or 6.
Okay, so how many?
At least 4.
I'd say 4 or 5. The number 1 is 5. Number 2 is 3. Here's one more. Has your interest in college football in the last 5 years, has it gone up? Is it better, worse, or about the same?
I don't know if it could gone up. I'm pretty enthusiastic
we're all pretty
about it.
I'm right there. Actually staying roughly the same. was the number one by a huge margin over increase. So there are a bunch of these. We're going to go through some of this today. If you would like to as well be a part of this with your feedback, and that's why we're here. The text line brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine is 254-339-1122. That's 254-339-1122. We'll monitor that. We have the SicEm365 Premium Board chat room that's locked in today. You could also respond to us there. And again, Colt Barber, Paul, and Brian and Ashley and others over the weekend continue to work on where we are and how we can be found. And it's only going to get better and better and better. YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, on the site, SicEm365.com. And then also there's going to be, they've worked on even a better, more updated link. And we're working on many more opportunities as well. And I'm telling you, it's only going to get better. And so many of you, we have, like in radio, you kind of don't know. It's just kind of a scientific guess. In big cities, you do because they can monitor your radio or whatever. In most of the other markets, it's just basically scientific. We now know exactly how many of you listened to our show last week. We know exactly how many. And we're going to give you that number at some point today. And then we're going to also update you every week because we want to be held to accountable to the number. We want it to go up. And we want it to grow. And we want you to help us grow. And we will. Hey, over the weekend, I spent some time in the Academic All-Stars program, something that this website has hugged since I told them, hey, I still want to do the All-Star team that honors student athletes. It's been kind of a challenge to get the nominations that were sent originally to another address, but I'm getting them, and I'm also getting them at a different address as well. And I've extended the deadline for the rest of this week. It was supposed to be March 31st. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is our title sponsor. Let me give you the list of others because we want to say them. We haven't said it since last week. West Hill Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Fiat, Coca-Cola, Ray Broker, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and our 501c is the Waco Foundation. All right? Paul, anything technically you want to share today off the top of the show?
No, I mean, we will have the ability to take phone calls here in the next day or so. It just depends on how long before tomorrow's show it gets installed and I can figure out how to work this piece of equipment. So it might be Wednesday, just so I can have some time to play with it. And we will have an app eventually here soon, and then we'll have an upgraded app hopefully sometime in the fall that's being worked on. But we'll have some way for you to listen in the background. It is just getting these companies to answer my specific questions without me signing up and paying for their app right off the bat, which would be a bad financial decision.
Yeah.
So getting them to answer my questions is just taking a long time. So we'll get that done, and you'll be able to do that. So.
SicEm365.com/live. SicEm365.com/live. And Colt has upgraded that link even more so since the last time we heard and spoke with you on Friday.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call it a complaint, but the one critique or one thing that people were asking about, I think the biggest thing was hey, I'm listening to you guys on my app or on this link or whatever, but then hey, my phone goes black and it cuts out, or get a phone call and whatever, it gets interrupted a little bit more rather than just streaming nonstop. So that's what an app will ultimately be able to help cure, so it can keep you locked in without having those little bit of a breaks that might take you away. But it does take some time. And the future's very bright. As you can tell, we're not slowing down. If anything, we're just looking for more and more ways to get better all the time, which is what this partnership has come to be. And it's very exciting. Show number 6. We've been doing 6 shows now with no sports, technically, and have had a lot of fun. So the future is very bright, and we're glad to have everybody on board.
All right, when we come back, Randy White, who when I called him over the weekend, I texted him, I think it was on Friday, maybe Thursday. And then I called him, and he answered the phone, and I was talking to him. He goes, I said, yeah. He goes, I don't get text. I get text, but I said, hey, do you think you'll have time? I know, you got to be. He goes, all I've done is clean my garage over and over and over again. I got plenty of time. In fact, we got to go a little bit longer because I want to make sure we hit him right when we said we would. Let's go one more. Let me go with one more of these surveys, okay? Do you support transfers getting a one-time exemption to play right away?
Yes.
Yes.
82.1% said yes, and 17.9% said no.
And the only reason I do, and I think the transfer problem is out of control, I think it will at least make the more decisive of the people who transfer. Because you're still going to have the people who want to play at 5 schools because they go one place and another place and
transfer until they get a starting job.
Yeah, exactly. You're still going to have that, but it will make people go, okay, look, I can play right now, and I'll go to this place. School A didn't work out, school B will work out, and then it'll keep it to that, and we can kind of stop this. It'll also stop the endless string of litigation of why I deserve to go, and then the NCAA says, well, Craig can play right away, but David can't. Mm-hmm. Why? Well, Craig had a better lawyer. That's the reason.
Yep.
Whatever you want to say, the reason that guys get to play over some other people is that they had a better lawyer.
It was embarrassing to watch, the Tate Martells and the Justin Fields and all of that unfold. And, some guys like that getting immediate eligibility. Now, I know with Fields, he had a complaint about dealing with some racism from the baseball players at Georgia. And, I don't know how extreme that accusation really was, but it was enough to get him immediate eligibility. Tate Martell made no sense whatsoever. That was complete garbage that kid got immediate eligibility. And then there were others who had, family members who were legitimately sick in another state or something along those lines, like a reason to maybe want to have an exemption that didn't get it. It made no sense every time I saw those stories because it was basically a flip of a quarter. Was it heads or tails? It gets you eligibility immediately or not. That's what it felt like watching those cases. So I'm glad across the board, one time, penalty-free, and let's make it a lot simpler.
Well, and Tate Martell had more money to pay a lawyer. His family had more money. And so a lot of the people, if you have a situation where you have to go home and help take care of a sick relative, a lot of times that's not because your family has means. If your family has means, then they can bring you back when they need to bring you back. But if you don't have those means, that's a lot of times why those guys have to do that.
Here's one other question. And there's 30 or 40 of these at the survey out of 3,500 people. TheAthletic.com, Stuart Mandel. How many years realistically should a head coach, a college football coach, have to establish a new program? Here are the options. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 or more years?
I would say 4 years.
Yeah, that's just such a long time, man. I go 3.
Okay, but why 3?
3 because I think you have that hiccup year. I look at Matt Rule's model. He was winning by year 3. If you can win by year 3 with what he walked into, and I realize there is a portion of people, he had talent on campus. I get all that, but there was a lot going on. He got that back in 3 years. If he could get that back from where it was, 1-11 to 7-6 to then win in double digits, then I think that should be the barometer for just about anybody.
That's a great point, Paul. Yeah. Why 4?
I think you should get like a whole recruiting cycle.
Barely edged out what Craig was saying, 3, and mainly because it gives you all 4 years to recruit.
And that's
your
fair.
People come through. But your Matt Rule example makes all the sense in the world. If you can do that in 3 years under those conditions, then
year 1,
you walk into a place that's got a lot of things and everything's fine with no overlying dark cloud.
Right. Year 1 was basically break it all down to dust, and then year 2 is in that offseason, all that is build it back up, and then year 3 you're flying, and that's what they did.
When we come back, Randy White, Hall of Fame defensive tackle from the Dallas Cowboys, he's next on SicEm365 Radio. Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be, with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long-distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
One of the most dominating defensive linemen in the history of the game. Cowboys great, Pro Football Hall of Famer Randy White joins us. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak on SicEm365 Radio. Randy, thanks so much for being a part of the show. When I contacted you last week, I said, hey, do you have time? And you responded by saying, that's all I've got right now. Well, how have you kept yourself occupied and busy?
Well, I've been home and, I have a little ranch out here in Prosper, Texas, and I've been cleaning the barn. I've been cleaning my knife shop where I make my knives. I've been cleaning my workout little room I have in my garage out there because all the gyms are closed and I didn't want to stop working out. So I gave away most of the stuff because I never thought I'd need it, but at least I kept enough I could still get a good workout. But doing that, running back and forth to the coffee shop every morning just to keep my sanity, everything's good other than that.
Randy, I just have an image in my head of you doing some old school Rocky IV type workouts though, if you didn't have enough weights.
Well, I may have done that a few years ago. I've slowed down quite a bit. My wife is a personal trainer, and she gets on to me every day. She says, "Are we going to work out this afternoon?" I say, "Well," she says, "Come on." I go out there and I work out with her. So, but she's pretty good taskmaster. She keeps me going pretty good.
Doesn't working out allow you to alleviate some stress, and it'll also just kind of make you feel better when you're done?
Oh, I always enjoy it. And I have a friend of mine, I've been training the Filipino martial arts, one of the ones that I still am pretty much involved in, Pakiti Tersha, and him, he's an instructor. He goes all over the world teaching people. He comes out, he's home right now, and so he's out here, so I've been training with him. So I really look forward to that. The other day we trained for 3.5 hours.
Ooh.
We were training with double knives, not real knives with the fake knives, but we were training, and you train till you get tired, then, you rest, you talk, you do some more. Well, 3.5 hours passed by, and the next day he called me and said, "You want to train again today?" I said, "Well, let's wait a day." And he called me the next day. I said, "Well, let's wait another day."
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
it took me a few days to recover. So, I can't go out as hard as I used to, but I still enjoy doing it. Still a lot of fun. And like you said, it's a stress reliever. And I just, feel like I've accomplished something when I train. So it's all good.
We had both Charlie Waters and Cliff Harris on the show last week, and one of the things that was brought up by both of them was how brilliant Tom Landry was in that no one could call the defense, the flex defense, like he could. People could run their own version of it, but nobody was effective at it. Was it hard to learn, or was it just one of those things you just do what Tom says and everything will be fine?
No, I mean, really, it was he made you be a student of the game. He made you learn not only defense, but he made you learn the offense and how the team you're playing is going to attack you, and what strategy they're going to use, and how you would adjust in different situations. And the more knowledge you had about the defense, and then we had guys like Charlie and Cliff out there, but when we had a breakdown on that defense, instead of panicking or having to wait till we got back to the sidelines and see where the problem was, we could get in the huddle and somebody would say, well, where do we have a breakdown? Well, I should have gotten this gap, and, that's what caused the play. So nobody panicked, because a lot of times where your defense gets in trouble is they start gaining some yards on you. Guys try to make up and do things that they don't ordinarily do, and you create more of a problem. So, Coach Landry made it in that flex defense. We could stop back in the day, just about any running back, the Walter Paytons, Eric Dickersons, all those, Earl Campbell, all those great running backs. If we played the flex correctly, we could stop just about any of them.
Randy, you were originally a fullback when you got to college at Maryland, and then you made the move to defensive end. Was that something that you were all in about initially, and how much of an adjustment period was there, kind of flipping the mentality from attacking to defending?
I enjoyed playing football, and when I went to college, you couldn't play varsity your freshman year, so I played both ways. I played fullback on offense, just like I did in high school, and then on defense, I played linebacker. But they moved me to defensive end when I went to college, and I didn't care. But I'm glad that Coach Claiborne, when he got there, Jerry Claiborne came to the University of Maryland as a coach. He immediately moved me to the defensive end spot, and he called me in. He says, "Hey." He saw something in me, and he said, "Hey, we think you could be a great player in this position, blah, blah, blah. And, but if you're going to be a great player, these are the things you had to do." So your coach has a lot to do, at least it did with me. When I was in college, Jerry Claiborne he was tough. He was disciplined. So when I came to the Cowboys with Coach Landry, who was tough and disciplined, he expected you to do your job. It wasn't a culture shock to me, because I kind of grew up in that environment, and then went to college and played in it. Then when I went to the Cowboys with Coach Landry, the same thing. So I was lucky in that aspect of having great coaches that put me in the position and evaluated me and see where I could help them the most, and help myself the most, and help the team the most. So it worked out pretty good.
Randy, how long did it take you to get used to just the way you had to line up in the flex, as far as it was kind of that crouch, so to speak?
The frog position?
Yeah. I was trying to be nice.
I tell you what, the older I got, And the worse my neck got, the harder it was to get down that position to lift my head up. My butt was just about on the ground at the end of my career because I had to go farther down so I could lift my neck up and see. I wish that we would have been given a little more freedom to take off and just go after teams. When we had Ed and Harvey and Dutton and myself and the other guys, especially the guys up front that I just mentioned, if we'd have been able to take off and go after the quarterback, there's no telling, how many sacks we could have had in 1 year. But, the defense and the game started changing and they started throwing more. And our flex defense, you're playing run on first and second down, pretty much playing run. And then they started throwing a lot in first and second down. So we were at a little bit of a disadvantage. And then, near the end of my career, there were a couple teams that started coming up with some plays that hurt the flex. The Redskins, Joe Gibbs, came up with that, putting the X-Man in motion and whamming me and double teaming Dutton and isolating the middle linebacker. I mean, that was a good play, and it was a hard play for us to stop because they had two guys on some of us, and the other of us said, if you didn't get your reads just right. So, the flex defense was a great defense. I loved playing it. Gave me all the freedom in the world. But I wish we would have had a little more freedom to take off sometimes, and it would have kept that offense guessing.
You had such depth on that defensive line, no matter when it was over, especially the early part of your career. And Ed Too Tall Jones and Harvey Martin, all of you guys on the same line. How much confidence does that give you that if you did, like you talked about, made one of those mistakes, that one of those guys could clean it up for you?
Well, that's what a team defense is all about. When you got 11 guys running to the football, we weren't allowed to take many chances. Coach, I used to take some chances that I wasn't supposed to, and I made the play most of the time. And Ernie Starkner, my coach, he was a great coach, a great guy, Hall of Fame player from Pittsburgh Steelers. But Ernie would tell me, he said, Red, he said, you can do that. He said, but if you're wrong too many times, he says, I'm not taking credit for it. You're going to have to take credit for it. And Coach Landry, we'd be in the middle of meetings sometimes in front of the whole team because he didn't want everybody can't go take a chance, right? You can't have everybody doing it or you'd have chaos. But he'd say, Randy, he said, you can do that against this guy, but one of these days you're going to come up against a good player, and you're not going to be able to do this. Well, I did it for about 5 or 6 years, and I always want to say, hey, Coach, when am I going to meet this good guy?
Yeah.
Randy, we had somebody on our Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line ask if you think the Cowboys are close to winning it all. What are your thoughts on the current state of the Cowboys?
Well, I mean, how do you know? From year to year, you never know who's going to pop up and be the team to go to the Super Bowl. They got a lot of talent. We'll have to see how things shape up. I think they lost a few players. They've gained a few players. They got some contract disputes going on. But I'm sure all that'll end, and they'll get back on track. And they got to play the season. I think they've got just as good a chance as anybody else out there to go all the way. So just have to wait and see.
Did you know after the draft class in 1975, when you guys were eventually labeled as the Dirty Dozen, you go to a Super Bowl, a young team, did you know even early on in training camp that would be the Cowboys were good anyway, but did you know that was going to be a special team pretty quickly?
I'll be honest with you. We had 12 rookies make the team. Oh, we were having fun. We enjoyed ourselves. We worked hard. We went to the Super Bowl. We're a wild card team, and we go to the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, we lost that Super Bowl 10 game. But you realize I didn't realize back then what it was to go to the Super Bowl. Your first year in the Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden you realize, man, we're going to have a chance to get one of those rings, and I didn't get one. And then we got a chance to go back and play Denver and win a Super Bowl, which, a lot of great players play their whole career and never even get in the playoffs. So, being able to go to a Super Bowl and win was a great to be a part of that team.
You had to, when your contract was up, you always had the shrewd negotiator of Gil Brandt, who to this day remembers what he paid every single person he ever drafted or signed. What would it have been like for you today? How much would you enjoy negotiating contracts with the kind of money that they throw around for guys today?
Well, I would have enjoyed it for sure. If I'd have been in the same caliber of player in today's game as I was back when I played, those guys get some pretty lucrative contracts. The guys that don't even make the Pro Bowl, or just average players make a lot of money, and I'm glad they do. I mean, that's a tough career, and you don't know if it's going to last one day or 10 years. And so I'm glad to see these guys getting paid, and the games are different, of course, but, I'm glad to see them making the money.
Cliff Harris is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame at some point, who knows when, and that's yet another player from the great years of the 70s, the Landry years, and it's taken a while for some of these guys to finally be recognized. How thrilled are you? I know Drew Pearson should also, at some point it has to happen for him. How thrilled were you for Cliff when you heard his name?
Oh, I was ecstatic that he got in the Hall of Fame. He's a great player. Was a great teammate when he was with the Cowboys. He's a guy I think should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time before this year, but he got in, so that's a great thing. I think we have a lot of other guys. Harvey Martin, Ed Too Tall Jones, Drew, of course. You mentioned Drew, Leroy Jordan. I mean, Chuck Howley, on and on and on. Great players that play for the Cowboys that aren't in, some of them aren't even in the Ring of Honor, and much less getting into the Hall of Fame. And I tell you what, we had a lot of great football players. Them 2 games with the Steelers, if we'd have won one of those games, I think we'd have a lot more guys in the Hall of Fame from our time than we do. So, but I still think they deserve to be in there.
I know you don't have enough time to probably tell the story, and we have a couple of minutes here. Can you try to explain again how Jerry Orr from Channel 8, didn't he find you on some lake up in East Texas when you were holding out? Was that the story?
I was Andy Anderson, the outdoor writer.
Okay.
I was up in staying up in Mount Pleasant at a hotel up there. I have some friends that owned a hotel up there, and I'd been going from Athens. I was at a ranch down in Athens I stayed at originally. That was my home base when I held out. And then I'd go to all these different locations around the East Texas that I fished. I'd incorporate fishing with my, when I was holding out, I went fishing every day. So now, what was the question? What do you want me to
how did he find you? Is that like he get tipped off? Or
Andy Anderson, yeah. Well, a friend of mine that guided up on Lake, what the heck was the lake? Bob Sandlin. We were up there fishing Bob Sandlin and Monticello, and I had a friend, Tommy Milam, up there, and he knew Andy Anderson because he was a big-time fisherman. And Andy called him and asked me, and Tommy told me, he says, Andy Anderson called me. He says, I told him you were up here at the lake. I said, I didn't tell you where you were. I said, you tell Andy. I said, if he wants to ride up here, I'll try to be available for him. And I was jogging down Interstate 30 from the Ramada Inn I was staying in up there. And I was on the off-ramp jogging up to the hotel. And here he comes. He pulls up to me next to me. He says, Randy, so you think I could talk to you? I said, well, sure, Andy. I said, come on over here. And anyway, that's how I got that interview. I did it with the outdoor sports writer. I wasn't trying to avoid the press. I was just hiding, and I didn't want to get in the middle of the, how much money do you want, and this and that and that, and so I just kind of hid out down there in East Texas, and it was a lot of fun. People would, a lot of people knew where I was down there. They wouldn't tell anybody, so that was kind of fun. But I'd had enough of it. I stayed out the whole preseason, and it's the night of the last preseason game. I'm sitting in my truck up there in Mount Pleasant, Texas, and I had to go up on a hill so I could get the reception to listen to the game. I'm thinking, Randy, what are you doing sitting here? How come you're not playing football? And luckily, the next day they called me. Howard Slusher called me and said the Cowboys wanted to meet, and I came back to Dallas and went over to Tex Ram's house, and we sat down, and they had an agreement. And I'm sitting there with Howard, and Tex, explains the agreement and what they're going to offer me. And, well, heck, it's more than what I was asking them, right? So I'm just sitting there in my chair. I'm thinking, well, heck, this deal's done. I'm going to sign this thing. So when we break up, and Howard and I go into the room, I said, Howard, I'm signing the contract. He says, I know you are. He says, we're going to stall a little bit. Typical negotiator. We went back, and he did a counter offer, and Tex said no. He banged his fist down on the table, and he said, no, that's as much as we're going to offer. That's it. We're done. And I said, we're taking it, Tex. And he looked at me. I wish I could have had a movie of that. But anyway, that's how that worked out. But it all started, Andy Anderson, the question you asked me, he found me jogging down Interstate 30 up there.
Randy, we had a question from Waco Bear. Wanted to know your favorite fishing lake in Texas.
Well, my favorite fishing lake is a private lake down in Texas. I can't say the name of it. But my favorite public lake is Lake Fork. I like to go to Lake Fork.
Yep.
It's an hour and a half from my house, and got a lot of friends that live up there on the lake, and I don't get up there as often as I used to, but I got my boat out the other day, and I'm starting to clean it up, so I'm going to try to go up there and catch a few fish, especially I like to fish at night a lot this time of year, so Lake Fork's probably my favorite lake.
Randy, thank you so much for responding, taking my call over the weekend, and being a part of this show. We are trying to build something from the ground up, and it's been fun, and having guys like you on the show help. Thank you so much. Enjoy yourself, and I hope you catch a bunch of fish wherever you get out.
Well, thank you. Y'all have good luck, and hope your show goes great.
Thank you. That's Hall of Famer Randy White, played with just the Cowboys. So many of their great players did. Some of them played a year or two somewhere else. And that's why it hurt when Emmett left, or when, like, Jason Witten's going to play for the Raiders. But for the most part, the better players all ended up playing for just the one team. There were some good ones that obviously Emmett, Dion was a run-a player anyway. When we come back, Mr. Rawls, the third, quarterback at La Vega, about to be a senior. How are high school players trying to handle no spring drills? Well, they wouldn't, as Paul said, in 4A, but just off-season conditioning and just staying together. He'll join us next on SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI. Blessed to be a part of the Waco and Central Texas community, helping bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high-quality MRIs in today's world. The cost of health care has never been more important to you. Unfortunately, there are still significant illnesses, injuries that occur just with everyday life, and Ideal MRI is open and also there to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists that are as good as they get. But you'll pay less, sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. No hidden cost. You won't get something in the mail about some bill that wasn't paid. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI, and especially if something happens, whether it's an emergency, contact them. I'll tell you how in just a second. This is simple. IdealMRI.com, IdealMRI.com. You can schedule an appointment safely from your home, online, IdealMRI.com, or if you want to call 833-IDEAL-MRI. That's 833-IDEAL-MRI. Remember now, follow those CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home except for essentials and be safe, because together we'll get through this together at IdealMRI.com. It's all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
So imagine, and you're a high school athlete, whatever sport, the sports that were shut down, the sports that never really got launched, or you're a football player and you're trying to keep yourself in shape and you're trying to stay engaged with your teammates and you're trying to do whatever you can without being able to do it on a level because your school's shut down. Avery Rawls joins us. Avery Rawls III joins us from La Vega, a junior quarterback, about to be a senior. And this is SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, David Smoak, and Craig Smoak. Avery, thanks for your time, young man. We appreciate your time. What is it like right now just for you and your teammates and classmates and dealing with all these things that are going on that have just basically shut down most of life?
Oh, I have to be honest. It hasn't been easy for any of us going through this, but from where we come from, we always known how to work and how to get our own work in. So we just been being active, moving around, getting a little running in here and there, meeting up, but staying and keeping that chemistry together is really what we've been trying to do.
How
How much harder is it to get to that next level, though, when you are doing it on your own? Because I know you want to get stronger, you want to get faster, and you have to have your own discipline. But without some of the weights or things available to you, have you had to get creative?
Yeah, we've been pretty creative. with the help of our coaching staff, we have our own list of workouts that we can do each and every day here at home, just to get a few strength and conditioning work in to stay on top of our work, or staying at least as close to where we want to be. So when we get back to the normal schedule, we won't be so behind.
Eric, given La Vega's very proud history, what is it like to be the next man up at the quarterback position, to have the guys that have come before you, to be that next guy leading the program from that position? Like, what kind of a responsibility do you feel, and what kind of a pride do you feel?
Well, I've always had this responsibility since coming into high school. I did play quarterback starting the sophomore year when we went to state and we won. Just a minor little switching junior year where I had to go to the defensive side, which was where the team needed was the help. But coming back, I don't feel any stress or anything. I just know that I got to keep my team together and be on top of our work.
I want to make sure we stress what you just said.
Yeah.
You were everyone knows you were the starting quarterback your sophomore year, and you win the state championship. And, man, you guys were really good.
Yes, sir.
And then the next year, because I think Landry Kenny was on campus, and he's going to play quarterback too, that Coach Hyde, I remember him telling me they wanted to find someone who could play in the secondary, and you were the best fit, and that was best for the team. So you're the starting quarterback of a state championship, then you give up that position. What does that say about you? Where did that come from in your life, that leadership, those leadership skills?
It just, to be honest, I didn't know if I had it in me when the situation came to me, but I looked at it from the team's perspective, and I knew what the team needed for us to be successful. So whatever it needed I was willing to do. So I felt like I did a pretty good job of fitting in that role and being still a leader on the defensive side, even for the offensive players and for my defensive teammates as well.
When you were asked to sacrifice, because that's what it is, and you are a team player, who did you lean on the most at that time to kind of get you through that time? Because obviously that's kind of initially a blow.
The most person I probably leaned on was my dad. Being a coach's son, I always had someone to talk to. And then after my dad, when I had my teammates also kept me up, had me in good moments. Never seen a dull moment with them. And that made me kind of forget, of the sacrifices. But I knew that thing what I did was right for the team. So I knew that I was doing it for a great purpose and for a good deal.
Do you feel it's being paid back a little, tenfold right now because you did that and you've learned and the team was better off for it?
Yeah, I learned from my own experience. I've learned how to make some sacrifices in my life, because I know besides football, this taught me how to be a man and grow up and do some things that you may not be comfortable with, but it's taught me a lot growing up in this process right now. So I really appreciate it, even though it didn't go as well as I planned at the beginning of the season, but I appreciate the experience because it's made me grow.
We're all remaining very optimistic about next season and hoping that it's going to be just like it normally would be, although the lead up to it obviously is going to be different. What's the kind of talk amongst you and your fellow players just as far as the uncertainty on are we going to have a full season? It's our senior year. Is it going to be maybe shorter? Are you guys having any of those conversations?
Yeah, most definitely. We are having these conversations, but we always fall back. If we get an opportunity to play it, we're going to play it like it's our last, because it might be. So we always going to put it all on the field, and if we get that one opportunity, we're going to make the most out of it.
So you've been doing this with your teammates, and you guys are doing whatever you can, and coaches are helping you out. Is it easy that everyone's showing up where they need to be, even though you're practicing that social distancing and whatever else? Is everyone all in, or are there some guys you've got to kind of maybe go, hey, what's going on? Where are you?
We're gradually getting all in at the moment. Even if I'm not able to be with the team, we got some leaders over here too, and get everybody together, the ones who can come, and we still get some work in. It's pretty much a system where everyone has to buy in, and that's what we're getting to. We're gonna get there.
Well, I've heard great things about your leadership, and it's other players on the team as well. Coach Hyde and I had a visit. I said, I'd like to talk to one of your guys that's, and he mentioned you, and I've seen what you've done with your Twitter feed and obviously what it's meant during this offseason as well. Continue to stay focused. Thank you for your time, and good luck handling something that I never had to handle, and most of us have never had to handle at your age. But, man, young people can be so resilient. Thanks for your time, and congratulations on staying focused.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a young man. He's got it. That's Adra Walls, the third, La Vega quarterback, the senior to be, with us on SicEm365 Radio. Coming up next, one of the most under-the-radar players coming out of Baylor for the NFL Draft, Jameson Houston on SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-through open, convenient, clean in-store location, so you can call ahead. You can even tell them, like, hey, I need a whiskey, a vodka, I need some of this, and they'll get it for you. They also have the fantastic craft beer selection, second to none, when you walk into that gigantic fridge and see what Steve and Debbie Chapman have put together there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine on the corner of Lakeshore and North 19th Street in Waco. They also got the fantastic Balcones products like the single malt, the pot still, the baby blue, the French oak, the rye, and the brimstone. All of it's great. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated in a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and on Instagram.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots in Idaho or red beet potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
And it's Brewer keeping it to the outside. Brewer lays the shoulder, dive, touchdown.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget. Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go, this 4 o'clock hour. That 3 o'clock hour blew by. Randy White, we appreciate him. Ara Rawls, the quarterback at La Vega. We're now joined by Jameson Houston, Baylor defensive back, and a young man getting a lot of interest from the NFL, and yet it almost seems like as well that he might be somehow under the radar. Jameson Houston, Baylor defensive back, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Jameson, I know you're getting interest. I know a lot of teams are contacting you. Do you feel like the fact you didn't have a pro day and some of those workouts that you would get probably set you back right now, but you can't wait to prove people wrong?
Yeah, for sure, man. You know, like you said, not having a pro day, not getting invited to the combine, for sure set me back a little bit. But, you know what I'm saying, I still think, you know, everything happens for a reason. So I think everything still going to work out like it should.
You know, you're preparing for, you know, your last year in school, and you know, like, okay, I'm going to have a pro day, and I might go to the combine, I'm going to go to this, and this. And then this all happens, and it changed up. How much of the kind of a roller coaster has it been since all this happened?
Man, it's been for sure a roller coaster. Just like you said, like, I didn't know any of this was going to happen. So, you know what I'm saying, I'm pretty much just taking it one day at a time and trying to, you know what I'm saying, just control what I can control pretty much.
Jameson, how are you going about draft preparations? How are you going about workouts? Are you working with anybody? What's kind of your schedule these days?
Yeah, man, I'm still working now. I have a gym down here that I'm still working out at, so I'm still fortunate to be able to work out, you know what I'm saying, stay in shape, you know what I'm saying, because draft day is around the corner. It'll be here quick. So I'm still fortunate to be able to work out.
I've had people tell me, and we covered you at Baylor. All of us did. Paul, Craig, and I, we all did. But here are some of the things that people have said about you that I've talked to that are either involved in getting information about you out or being asked about you. Great kid, sleeper in the rounds of whatever he goes, if it's even on Sunday, straight class young man. What does that mean to you?
Man, it means a lot. You know what I'm saying? The way I carry myself means, you know what I'm saying, that means a lot to me. I want people to perceive me as a good person, you know what I'm saying? You know, whether that's on the field, off the field, you know what I'm saying, whatever I'm doing in the community, anything, I just want people to know that I'm a good person. And, you know what I'm saying, it's not just about football.
What kind of things do you like to, you mentioned the being out in the community, what kind of things do you like to do to get out and kind of share your gift with people?
Man, a little bit of everything, like, you know what I'm saying, whether it's going to the YMCA, playing around with kids, you know what I'm saying, where I'm just like, where I just go and volunteer, you know what I'm saying, in any little place, whatever they need and whatever I can help out at, you know what I'm saying, I want to help out at. And so that's, you know what I'm saying, that's just what I love doing.
Jameson, everybody knows about the rise of you guys, where you were 3 years ago at Baylor to last season and how successful that was. I mean, just a couple of plays away from, you know, a Big 12 title and a Sugar Bowl victory even perhaps. Just how much fun did you guys have? And, I mean, obviously sharing in Matt Rule's vision, just how special of a season was that to be a part of?
Man, it was a fantastic season, you know what I'm saying? Coach Matt Rule is a great coach, you know what I'm saying? He led us the right direction, and I'm just, you know what I'm saying, along with my teammates, just was blessed to be a part of that. Because, you know what I'm saying, it's not something everyone gets to be a part of, and that was special for everyone.
Jameson, there are in college, people graduate, they move on, they go to the NFL early. James Lynch, others. You're a part of this class leaving for the NFL. Graylin Arnold, Chris Miller, is the cupboard still full of talent in the secondary, even though you guys are all moving on to the next level?
Yeah, man, for sure. They still got, you know what I'm saying? They got, Raleigh Texada. They got a lot of guys over there that'll be able to, you know what I'm saying, keep the bar high. You know what I'm saying? They got Kalen Barnes. They got tons of talent over there who, you know what I'm saying, that we've taught and they've learned from us in the past. And so I think they'll still be great over there.
You guys had a tough defense to learn under Phil Snow, but once you guys got it, you clearly showed that you got it this year. How much do you think learning Phil Snow's defense will help you now on the next level?
Man, you know what I'm saying? So just with Coach Snow's defense, like you said, it was hard to remember and hard to just pick up. But once you got it, it's easy. You know what I'm saying? It's second nature. But I feel like at the next level, I feel like the guys, they'll pick up on it real quick. You know what I'm saying? That's just stuff they're used to. So they won't have no problem with it.
How long did it take for you to adjust? When did you feel like it finally clicked for you?
So about my junior year, I felt like I picked up everything. Sophomore year was hard for me because that's when he just got there, and so it was new for me. Had to learn a lot of stuff, but junior year I kind of picked it up, and then this last season I had it down, and so that's part of the reason I was able to play fast and finish the season off the way I did.
So Phil Bennett recruited you when you were at St. Michael's Academy in Austin, and he told me that there was no question you were superior athletically to anybody else in that high school. But he told you that you needed to come to the Baylor camp and prove yourself, and said you were spectacular. Do you remember that conversation with him, and what did it mean to you to go prove yourself?
Man, it meant a lot to me. That's just something that I've had to do my whole life, just go improve myself. Because like I said, you know what I'm saying, not many people can know what I can do. And you know what I'm saying, I'm a very, you know what I'm saying, under the radar person, but I have a lot of talent. So going there and being able to go improve myself to Coach Bennett, it was a lot. It's something that I wanted to do. Cause it's something that I just wanted to show that I can get this done. And so I was able to go and get it done.
I've been told there are a lot of teams that have contacted your, obviously, agents and or have been in touch with Coach Bennett or former Baylor coaches of the staff that is now gone. How much of that chatter, how much of that contact are you involved with right now?
I'm involved with a lot of it, you know what I'm saying? Whether they call me first or they call my agent or Coach Bennett or whoever it is, I pretty much know everything about it. And so whoever calls me, I just transfer them over to my agent or Coach Bennett or whoever else that they need to talk to. So I'm pretty much in the loop of everything.
Do you have any draft day plans? How are you planning on, watching the draft and obviously hoping to hear your name called? What are your get-together plans, if any, for that weekend?
Just probably be with my family, I'll probably be over at my dad's house down in Austin and just have some family members over and see what happens. Hopefully my name gets called.
Yeah, you got, 5? What are you officially measured as? Not that it matters because you can't measure the heart unless you get like a echocardiogram. What is that what it is, Paul?
Yeah.
I got that right. That's a big word for me. 5'11", 5'10 and a half, 6 feet. What are you?
I'm about 5'11 and a half, about 205 pounds.
Big, physical. And you are still, in a lot of ways, aren't you just learning the game, even though you've been through the Phil Snow? Aren't you just kind of like you have so much more to grow, even though you've played so well last year?
Yeah, for sure, man. I believe, what I'm saying, the sky's the limit for me. I have, what I'm saying, so many other things that I can get better at and that I'm going to get better at. And so I'm just, what I'm saying, blessed to be able to go and do that and show people that I can get it done.
Do you feel Because if you're drafted or whatever happens, you'll be a rookie in the NFL. You're going to have to also make the team through special teams. And in high school, you ran back, oh my God, a bucket load of kicks and punts for touchdowns. How much do you feel like that might help you as well?
I feel like it's going to help me a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, for rookies, you know what I'm saying, a lot of them start out on special teams. And so I know I can get it done, whether on special teams, whether it's the gunner, whether I'm running down on kickoff, whether I'm doing kick return, or, you know what I'm saying, whether I'm one of the hold-up guys on punt return, I can do all of it. So that's going to help me out a lot. It's going to be a lot to my advantage.
Jameson, who are some of the players in the NFL that you admire, not necessarily look up to, but maybe you do, but who are some of the NFL guys that you like to watch?
Man, you know what I'm saying, Xavier Howard, you know what I'm saying, he was a former Baylor corner.
Yep.
Stephon Gilmore, you know what I'm saying, there's a lot of great ones. Richard Sherman, a lot of guys I look up to and just, you know what I'm saying, just want to play my game the way they play theirs.
It's 10 days away from the draft. Are you everything? Are you at like relaxed? Are you a little bit like on edge? You can't go fast enough. You can't wait to get there.
Man, I can't wait. I can't wait till the draft comes. You know what I'm saying? It's only like about 10 days away, so I can't wait. I cannot wait until it gets here.
Good luck. Good luck, Jamie. Hey, thanks for jumping on with us. We appreciate your agents for helping set this up as well. Good luck, and we will be in touch and follow you no matter where you go, when you go, or who you play for.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Jameson Houston from St. Michael's. Phil Bennett was telling me a story about that, you know, he's so raw, that he was so raw. And, you know, you think about it, you know, he had that. That's a lot of these guys that are going out right now were ones that were recruited by the previous staff and then had to kind of wonder. All these guys could have left, and they ended up sticking. Not all of them, and they all turned out. Look, the defense with Miller, Lynch, obviously Jameson Houston. Don't want to forget Graylin Arnold. Clay Johnston's probably going to end up in a camp somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
Bravion Roy.
Yep.
Chunk. And I still wonder about Blake Lynch as the athlete, whether someone can figure out what to do with him.
You know, there's a lot of these guys in here that I'm not quite sure what their NFL futures hold, but it makes the XFL news that much worse. That you really think that, okay, let's just use Jameson as an example since we talked to him. He would for sure have a shot at the XFL if the NFL route doesn't pan out. But now that's no longer there, and that's really unfortunate. The same goes for perhaps a Grayland or whoever. So hopefully these guys stick. I think, you know, Jermichael Hasty will be a very interesting guy just because of what he can do. Although, you know, I've read the scouting reports on him, and they have some of the same critiques we had of Jermichael. Just doesn't stay on his feet enough, tries to dance a little too much, although he did change his style for the better, and it showed in the second half of the season, but his blocking, and we know about what he does there. So a lot of these guys have maybe not the total package, but a lot of intangibles that should be something that intrigues NFL front offices, especially knowing who their coach was the last 3 years and where he is now. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Matt Rule pluck a Baylor guy or two, if not in the draft, but through free agency. So Jameson, I immediately think of him as a guy who, at the time when he committed, from what I recall, not a lot of people were just over the moon for, because he came from a small private school. They saw the measurements, but that's all they really saw. And then maybe saw eventually in the film, you know, some of the return game and all of that. But just for whatever reason, from the moment he committed to, I mean, the end of his career, he was just always a sort of under-the-radar type of guy. Not disrespected, certainly appreciated, but just under the radar.
Yeah, and you mentioned the ending of the XFL. You know what I think the NFL should do for guys like that? I think they should just admit, hey, there's a bit of a craving for spring football. And they did try to do it with the NFL Europe.
Yeah.
But you know, they're not in the right place. Just go to the cities the XFL was in or the AAF and do the NFL Spring League in the United States.
When we come back,
that'll work.
Couple of more of these notes, questions, and responses from the athletic.com on college football. One of them is, how closely do you follow recruiting of your favorite team or just nationally? Just some responses in the Stuart Mandel article. Also today at 4:30, former Baylor quarterback J.J. Joe. 4:45, one of the most knowledgeable, smartest sportscasters I know in Chuck Cooperstein. At 5 o'clock, Barry Switzer will join us. He'll be live with us here on SicEm365. Paul Catalina, David Smoak, Craig Smoak. SicEm365 Radio continues in a moment. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas. Our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. In today's world, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. We even offer financing. Everything's included in the price, and more importantly, you'll not get a bill in the mail later on. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule an appointment safely from home, online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe, and together we'll get through this at idealmri.com.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
All right, at 4:30, J.J. Joe, 1990 to 93 quarterback with the Baylor football team. And there's some great stories about him. He'll join us today. He's reached out to us multiple times on his Twitter feed with our show and how we launched. Paul Catalina in studio, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Thanks to Colt Barber, Jason King, Grayson Grundhafer, and then, of course, Brian Etheridge and Ashley Hodge. It never fails that between the time I might fall asleep or the time I wake up, that somebody among the names, guys, I just mentioned, and or us, is working on something that we share.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Pretty much 25 texts a day or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just kind of ballparking it. But, yeah, there's constant communication on this or that, whatever it may be pertaining to the show or the website. And it's good to have that communication, not people with their own agendas or whatever it may be. It's open lines, and everybody's on the same page, and it's been great.
Ideal MRI, by the way, your health is important, so is your budget. You can contact them at Ideal MRI. Ask your doctor about Ideal MRI if you need an MRI today. All right. How closely? Here are the options. Very closely, only close when it's close to National Signing Day. Not until they sign, not at all. How closely, what's the biggest chunk here? Do you follow your favorite team's recruiting?
You're going to have to give those options one more time.
Very closely and all the time. Closely, only closer to National Signing Day.
Okay.
Not until they sign, not at all.
Well, doing what I do, I follow it year-round, so I'm one of the hardcores that would be in that percentile.
Only closer to National Signing Day. And Smokey, you know this. You and I have had many discussions. I deplore recruiting in all of its forms. I can't stand it. It drives me nuts. I just want to know right before National Signing Day what it's looking like. And then I don't make a lot of hype about it until somebody's actually put on the shoulder pads. Because we can get and they may be great at another school. They may be great at the school you like. But until they play, you don't know. So you can be excited, but I just think that it should be tempered.
All right, so the biggest chunk of those who responded, the nearly, 3,500 people on theathletic.com, a slight edge, closely and, constantly engaged. 2, only closer to National Signing Day. The ones who follow it very closely and all the time were the fourth chunk. Third place was, third place was very closely. Fourth place was not until they sign. And I've gotten to the point now, and I think it's only because of the way things change. It's trending, just like you might like something, and all of a sudden, how restaurants, when they open, what happens? They get flooded, right? And then you find out pretty soon how good the restaurant is, because then you find out the food, the service, whatever. And then, of course, there's going to be it's just like people are going to stop going to the same restaurant. They love to go to new places and taste the food. And even if it's good, you may not go back for a while. The decommitments is annoying to me. It's not, I understand it. It's their career. It's their football scholarship. But the top 20 names, the schools and the logos, which came up on social media, I get that too. I don't, but that's what you can do. I would never have had a graphic. No, there would have been nobody.
But you can't take 20 official visits.
Belleville Community College, baseball. But the decommitments now are the ones that got me sour, to the point now when someone commits, we will have on this show commitments that commit to Baylor or local kids to commit anywhere else. But it just kind of got to the point where I felt like that got to be the majority, the decommitments rather than the majority the other way around.
I mean, there's various issues with recruiting coverage. I think, every commit's great, and we know that that's not how it's going to pan out. But, you always get excited about an addition, even though some fan bases can get spoiled maybe from time to time where they're having so much success that all of a sudden a 3-star is just like, oh, well, why are we signing this? There's kind of that spoiled nature that can come with it sometimes. But, recruiting is something that you don't have to follow, and you can still enjoy the product just fine. You can follow it hardcore and have more knowledge of individual players and sort of their backgrounds and their journeys and what types of players they are. And there's people that like that. There's people that like not really knowing guys till they step on campus. So to each their own on that. But obviously recruiting has blown up in a way that I don't think really too many people could have foreseen from the days when it was just a top 50 list or whatever it was in the USA Today versus now where every school practically has at least one website that covers them. We work for one of those that covers Baylor. So, it's provided a whole new industry. I think that's been the biggest positive. Now, the negative to it, I would say, is there is a small group, but there is still a group of people who kind of become recruiting celebrities or whatever and maybe take that to the head a little bit too much. But I think you probably find that in again, any industry where somebody suddenly starts getting some popularity. I just don't like it when the reporter itself overshadows shows the actual players they're reporting on, which thankfully we don't have in this market or with this website. But it's to each their own on recruiting. I can see the benefits of both sides.
Yeah, Colt, Grayson, Craig, Jason. And there's all sorts of premium content you could get on SicEm365. We're gonna have that out. We got so many things we're working on behind the scenes that I almost can't keep up with it. When we come back, J.J. Joe. How about the story about J.J. Joe as a freshman when Baylor played at Lubbock against Texas Tech? What was that story about? His thoughts, of course, he's part of that Learfield IMG broadcast team as well. J.J. Joe, then Chuck Cooperstein, and then Barry Switzer, back to back to back on SicEm365 Radio.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breast, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots and Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. And a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game. All right, here we go. This 4 o'clock hour. Chuck Cooperstein will join us from ESPN Dallas in the next segment, then Barry Switzer at 5. And right now, we're joined by former Baylor quarterback and now part of the broadcast of Learfield IMG for Baylor football, J.J. Joe, who has been reaching out on occasion with some of the things we've done with the launch of this show on SicEm365. JJ, your thoughts about what you've heard or seen at least so far?
Hey, I'll tell you, David, it's good to visit with you, and I was excited. I mean, I've been with Ashley and those guys over at SicEm365 doing a little writing every once in a while. So when I heard about the radio show, I said, "Man, you got to get me on. What are you waiting on?" But I'm glad to hear that you guys are kicking it over here at SicEm365.
All right, so will you try to tell me the butterflies in your stomach, freshman year, Southwest Conference, in Lubbock, and Grant Taft says it's your time?
It's interesting. The story behind, that whole deal is I wasn't even really technically the backup. I was actually still third team. Had never been told I was the backup. But Coach Reedy, who, of course, became the head coach after Coach Taft retired, just told me to be ready. So, I see Brad get hit. He gets hit. I remember distinctly he gets hit on the blitz by one of the tech linebackers, and he's laying there. I'm thinking in my head, like, man, get up, Brad. Man, that was a big-time hit. And all of a sudden, I'm like 45, 50 yards away, and guys are turning to me and say, like, get in. I didn't even have my helmet. So you can imagine the adrenaline started rushing through my veins.
JJ, I remember early on when I got here and people would tell stories about you, they said that you were not the best practice player, but when the lights were on, you were better. Would you dispute or agree with that?
I would 100% agree. I don't know how many times, in the spring of my freshman year, Coach Reedy came, we changed the offense. Everybody's thinking it was fit for me. And I don't remember, I can't count the number of times I got kicked out of practice. And by kicked out, meaning like I was in there not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, just a step slow. And man, Coach Reedy one day actually my high school coach was in the stands. We were having high school coaches there. We were running goal line drill. And man, Lachey Masson, who was one of my outside linebackers, he played for, I think, the Dolphins for a while, as well as, I think, Team Houston. And he kept making me mess up the pitch, man. And Coach, man, he laid it to me, kicked me out of practice. So I used to get kicked out of practice often, not for lack of effort. It was just from lack of execution.
JJ, obviously this Baylor football team's got some questions to answer for next year. You got to be up there in the booth watching the incredible journey that they were on. And now a new head coach. What have been some of your first impressions of Dave Aranda and just some more change headed these players' way?
One thing about these players, the nucleus of these guys, they're resilient. I like the Aranda hire. It was kind of interesting. I wasn't sure which direction we would go, but Mac is very thorough, and I like getting a big-time coach from a program that's won. He's a defensive-minded coach. I think he's putting together a great staff, man. When I heard he was hiring Coach Fedora, who was there when I was there, you don't know how I was seriously geeked when I heard Fedora was on staff. So I tell you, I think the staff that he's putting together, his ability, I think, to galvanize and keep that defense going, losing a lot of kids. I'm excited about what I'm hearing, and I just hate that they had him mid-spring, but you got to do what you got to do, and I expect those guys to be ready to go when it's time to go.
How much do you think, have you had a chance to visit much with Coach Fedora, and how much do you feel like he maybe has, of course, over 20 years or whatever it's been, even gotten more knowledgeable, more experienced, and probably frothing at the mouth because he was out of coaching for a year or two?
Oh, yeah. He did a great job at Southern Miss. And then he was at UNC. They did a great job there. He is, to me, he is an offensive coach. That's what Coach Fedora is. A lot of the stuff we did back, in the 90s, when Coach Fedora was a young player, I think he pushed a young coach. He pushed the envelope to try to get Coach Reedy to try some stuff. So I'm excited, man. I think that, he's in his comfort zone when he's coaching offensive football. And not to say that he can't head coach, because he did a great job at North Carolina. But I just think that, man, him being able to focus on the offense, I think Charlie will flourish up on him as well as Gary and, all the other quarterbacks. So I'm excited to see what they do.
Do you think it's more of a personnel match for the offense that they have now on the roster than maybe a year ago with Fedora coming in?
I wouldn't say that, but I think, when you got kids, that we have on outside, even with the loss of the receivers we had, loss of Hastings, you're bringing back, some significant talent. You got Tyquan Thornton out there. You have Fleeks out there. You got a lot of kids on the edge. You got good runners coming back, Lovett and Crew. So I think really, if you ask me, and people used to ask me about the offense, I said, you know what, if you ask me about looking at it, I think we just had a few too many cooks in the kitchen. And that's not to be negative, because that was a defensive football team last year. They were going to win by how they're defensive. I just felt like there was a lot of voices in the room And you could tell just by what we try to do. I never the last couple of years, I just couldn't figure what our identity was. And I think now with Fedora, you're going to know. It's going to be clear. It's going to be a clear cut. And I think Coach Aranda going to cut him loose and let him go after it.
Was it an easy transition for you because you played the game or was broadcasting as a color analyst? Did that take some time for you?
Oh, yes, man. I'll tell you, number one, John Morris. He was an award-winning John Morris. He is the easiest guy to work with. When I first started, I was as raw as you can get, and he just really kind of nursed me along. So now, I'm not perfect, but I kind of get it. And it was easy from a quarterback view because the quarterback looks at the game totally different than a lot of players. And, I just look at the game differently. I don't watch the ball. I watch the play. I watch, defense more than anything. As a quarterback, you're trained to watch defense, and it's easy for you to start diagnosing and how you should attack. So it was I'm not going to say easy transition days, but I'm going to say it was probably more smooth than probably if I would have played, what receiver or running back.
You had a poll question up last week was which Baylor game could you watch over and over again during the quarantine? Do you have one?
Yeah, I gave two, but and one was personal. It was when we went to Colorado and my redshirt sophomore year, and beat the defending national champion in Colorado. That got us running. We just couldn't finish the deal, which was the most disappointing part of my college career. In '91, we just didn't finish it. So that one, the 16-14, Jeff Island makes not a last-second kick, but he makes a kick toward the end of the game that wins it for us. And then, of course, that 2013 game in the case, the case closed game, where I think I slid from the DFW area down to Waco.
Yeah.
That was a close 1A. Let's put it that way.
JJ, how much do you think it hurts? You got Charlie Brewer back, so you have your starting quarterback. We saw a little bit of that, what is dripping off of Jacob Zeno with what he did in the game in the Big 12 title. How much do you feel like having a returning quarterback will help with Fedora, but even no spring drills, they can't do much? How much does that help, you think, the offense?
It's going to impact them a little bit. When you have a new offense, that install is huge in the spring. Now, trust me, I know those guys have the playbook, but, having the playbook and then having an opportunity to execute the schemes, man, is totally different. So Charlie's experienced, so that's going to help. But he doesn't have that time with Coach Fedora to be on the field going through the concepts, and that's going to set him back a little bit. But, hey, look, everybody's in the same boat. No one's going to be able to work on their concepts and schemes, but it'll take the offense a little bit. But when you have a senior like Charlie coming back, that's going to help. And I think it'll take Jacob and Gary a little while to catch up to Charlie a little bit, just because. It's just, when you play 3 years, that makes a big difference.
J.J. Joe, by the way, they did win that game in Lubbock, 21-15. He was a freshman that year and never blinked. Hey, man, great to be a part of SicEm365. I know you're a part of it. We'll see you whenever there is that first game. Can't wait to talk to you again, and thanks for sharing your time with us today.
Hey, good luck. You guys are doing a great job. Thanks for having me on.
J.J. Joe from 1990 to 93, Baylor quarterback, and now a part, of the Baylor Learfield IMG radio broadcast. When we come back, Chuck Cooper's team, 20 minutes, Barry Switzer, SicEm365 Radio. Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in PettyClinicLowT.com.
An Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Here we go. SicEm365 Radio. Chuck Cooperstein will join us. And then former Cowboys and Oklahoma Hall of Fame, College Hall of Fame quarterback in Barry Switzer. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina. Tavares Jackson passed away at the age of 36.
Yep. Car crash, apparently, from what the headline that I had seen, but the former Vikings quarterback, unfortunate news, sad news there for he and his family, but had a car accident and was not able to make it out, so very unfortunate.
I saw a stat, whether it's true or not, because maybe somebody takes a knee at the end of the game, but he was the only, I don't know if it sounds like it couldn't be true. And this is from a very well-respected NFL writer, and I wish I could remember his name. He's the only backup quarterback to have taken a snap in a Super Bowl in the last 20 years, as far as after the game started.
I mean, I had not seen that stat, but I can believe that's true. I'm trying to think of another backup quarterback. I mean, there were technically backup quarterbacks. Nick Foles was a backup quarterback, although he was a starter by that point. So, I mean, I remember Tavares Jackson just being around the league, had a couple of great moments, and like I said, unfortunate that happened and that he was not able to make it.
So we'll have Chuck Cooperstein here in a moment, also Barry Switzer at 5, and then Adam McClintock is going to join us on this college football all-decade playoff, which Baylor has 5 teams listed in that group. Of course, you could probably tell who a lot of the other ones are. He's from ESPN in Dallas. He's also the voice of the Mavericks, and he's a great friend of our show and just a great friend of mine as well. Chuck Cooperstein joins us, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and David Smoak. Chuck, how you been?
I'm stir crazy, but doing the best I can under the circumstances. Great to be on your show, and congratulations to you guys. This is very, very well-deserved and a wonderful recovery for you guys.
Thank you. It was unbelievable here, the people at SicEm365. And, it's crazy because I know you're as much of a sports fan. You're also great with your family and all the things you do, but you do games. And how difficult has it been, knowing that there's so much more out there to worry about? But how long did that take you to kind of get used to not having games?
I don't think I'm used to it yet, to be honest with you. I mean, I still desperately want to look at the Phoenix Suns notes that are in front of me and get to work on them because that was the next game the Mavericks were going to play, before the shutdown took place. No, I'm not over it. I mean, but to the extent that, there's tape sports on TV, like, the Masters this weekend, I watched a little bit of that, but, I'm not watching horse and I'm not watching a lot of other stuff. I've actually spent a lot of time on Netflix, and now I'm actually going back and doing something I probably should have done about 20 years ago, and that's watch The Wire. I never did it when it originally came out. So I'm watching that right now. But, I'll read every day and, keep tabs on things. So, obviously, I saw the Christian McCaffrey news, and I know what's going on with, the NFL, the NBA and their 25-day plan, proposed 25-day plan. But that's the only things that interest me right now. Going backwards really doesn't do a whole lot of good for me.
Chuck, is this one? I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of Maverick seasons that maybe people wanted to end kind of early, but this one
like
is,
the last 3 years.
Yeah, this one was certainly not one of them, and whether the season comes back or not is really gonna, I guess, hinge on when we can all get back out in the public. But if we don't get to see this season kind of crescendo and figure out where the Mavericks are, how much will that sting and go into next year not really knowing, how deep they can really make a run in the playoffs, because you want to see them play in the playoffs.
No question about that, because nobody just shows up in the playoffs and succeeds. Everybody goes through significant pain to ultimately get to where they want to go, and all this does is delay the Mavericks' growth process by a year. But obviously, it's nothing they can control. But it is the fact of the matter. I mean, this is not football. It's not baseball. The NHL, you can get away with having a hot goalie. But it seems like in the NBA, I mean, unless you're LeBron and you're going back to Cleveland and you're taking your team to the finals, then everybody struggles. Even LeBron last year going to the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers were okay, at the time that he got hurt at Christmas, but I mean, they certainly were not favorites to make a real significant run in the Western Conference, and it's just the way things are in this league. So, I mean, as excited as we all are to have Luka playing like he's playing, and Porzingis, seemingly having found himself right at that last 6-week period before the season shut down. And the fact is, we all know the playoffs are a different game, and I don't think we're going to be seeing playoffs until sometime in calendar year 2021.
Chuck, you mentioned Porzingis there. I mean, Luka gets a lot of the headlines, but Kristaps had seemingly started to have found himself. What was noticeably different to you, I guess, towards the end there before the shutdown, as far as just the chemistry of the team, his role in it, and just sort of the makeup they had?
Well, I mean, it may be just as simple as he was actually back to playing NBA basketball. And the only way to really get in shape to play NBA basketball is to play NBA basketball. You can do all the lifting and all the running and all the scrimmaging and all that stuff, and it takes some time. And now, some will say that the fact that Doncic got hurt, and actually really after the middle of December, those two guys played very few games together, sort of led Porzingis to have to take on a larger role, and he was able to do that. I'm not quite sure I buy that. I'm just willing to look at it as the fact that he finally was back to playing, and he finally got into the rhythm of playing. And yeah, the Mavericks did some things to probably help him, get balls in better areas on the floor to score. But in the end, he was still pretty much doing what the Mavericks had in mind for him, was to be that 7-3 3-point shooter that ridiculously spread the floor, that allowed Luka and everybody else to have the space that they had, that allowed the Mavericks to have the most efficient offense in the NBA.
Chuck, who do you think will be affected more by no spring drills, no off-season, at least as far as we know, the college game or the pro game?
That's a great question, David. At least the colleges are kind of used to this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the colleges go through, they have spring drills, they have, 15 practices, but they're only 10 of them are in pads, and it's not like what it was 20 years ago. The NFL's never been through anything like this, so I think for so many of them that have not been through it, I think that it'll be a struggle for a lot of them. Now, if Matt Rule, for instance, had been in his second year at Carolina as opposed to his first year, he would have had a monstrous advantage, I think, over just about everybody, because he would not have been so far removed from that process. But I look at him, and I look at Mike McCarthy here in Dallas, and Ron Rivera, and all the new coaches in the league who won't have a chance to really get on the field with their teams likely until sometime in the fall, and especially the NFC East, there are 3 new coaches, right? Doug Peterson's the only returning coach, and I would tend to believe that they would have a fairly significant edge on everybody when this thing starts up.
Chuck, is there a fair way for the NBA to come back and make it to where there won't be teams that get left out in the shuffle, or is it just going to have to be what it is if they do figure out a way to do it?
I think if they go right to the playoffs, I just don't see where there's a resumption of the regular season. Especially if given what we saw today from Brian Windhorst report on ESPN, that there's going to be a 25-day ramp up. Once the go ahead is given, well, you're basically looking at a sort of a June 1st deadline for those guys to get back into the process. And then that would lead into the playoffs. And the playoffs are basically a 2-month process. And where the NBA was at the time of stoppage, there really weren't any questions who the playoff teams were. I mean, the 8th place team in the East had a 6 or 7 game lead. The 8th place Memphis had a 3.5 game lead in the West. And that's a pretty significant advantage, even if a team like New Orleans had a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. I mean, those are things that you just can't count on. But I mean, they've played well over 3/4 of the schedule here, and that's enough of a marker, I think, to pretty much chop things off and say, when we start, we're starting with the playoffs. These are our 16 teams. Now, you could again want to make the argument that it should be just the best 16 teams as opposed to 8 in the West and 8 in the East. I won't disagree with you, but that's not how the NBA thinks. So, I mean, that's kind of where we are, that you have the top 8 in the West, top 8 in the East, and let's go play.
Hey, we appreciate you, Chuck. We could talk for a long, long time, and we'd love to get you on again. You were one of the very first people to reach out to me on March the 18th, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget your friendship, your loyalty, and thanks for being a part of the show. We'll have, hopefully, at some point, we can discuss games again. Who knows when, but hopefully sometime sooner rather than later.
Well, I appreciate you calling and giving me the opportunity to be busy for 15 minutes.
Chuck Cooperstein. Gives you a little chance to warm up those vocal cords. That's Chuck Cooperstein, is knowledgeable. I say the 2 guys that to me have always blown me away with their knowledge across the board. Chuck, Norm Hitzges, when it comes to sports broadcasters and talk show hosts.
I think he made a really great point about Kristaps and just getting back to playing. It wasn't anything overly complicated, although when you have been away, you yourself have to get reacclimated and then also acclimated to your teammates as well. But the Mavericks were, not necessarily playing their best basketball by the end of the season when it got dropped off, but they were, a team that was much improved, and they were bound for the playoffs. And so if there is a resumption of the NBA, even though they're talking today about this ramp-up that will be needed, and let's say they do go directly into the playoffs, which I agree would be the way to go about doing that, then they would be a playoff team, and they would be able to, go play in the postseason, although it's not quite the same as it typically is.
Yeah, you're right. Coming up next, it is different. And when they start, how long do they need? Do they just let's go? And you got to worry about hamstrings and quads and ankles and much more. When we come back, Barry Switzer will join us at 5:30. Adam McClintock on his 2010 to 2019 decade-long college football playoff and how often Baylor's mentioned and how he went about doing that. This is SicEm365 Radio. I'll never forget early on when things started to change in our world. I went by to see a good friend of mine, Brian Bauer, and the Bauer family at Waco Custom Marketplace. And yeah, they were still open at the time. And then things started to change and businesses started to have to react. And businesses had to think, and I love this term. I like to make sure we do it all the time, think outside the box. And the next time I went by there, they had basically had turned their grocery store inside with a butcher shop and bakery and so much more into a drive-through. Like you could go around the side, go around to the back, and they had a menu for you, and you could check it off. And then you would then turn around the corner, and around the corner there's a door, and that would be where you pay for whatever you would buy, whatever it might be. It could be steaks, it could be burger, it could be hamburger meat, it could be various parts of seafood, whatever you want as far as salmon or catfish fillets. And oh, yes, there's still what they have in the bakery. They did this just boom. And it's given them business that otherwise, if their doors are closed, they don't have. Sliced ham or turkey if you want sandwich meat or American cheese. And yes, smoked sausage, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops. And if you want, right now, $19.35 is how much it costs to get 4 pieces of sirloin steak or $35 for 4 pieces of ribeye steak, my favorite steak. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat, a loaf of white bread, carrots and Idaho and red beef potatoes, white rice, flour tortillas, pinto beans, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, their drive-thru right now is open on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 until 6, so they're open for another hour. They've done it the right way forever. WacoCustomMarketplace.com, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one, commercial, farm and ranch, or residential. Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
More play action, wide open in the end zone, touchdown Thornton. They lost him again and a 29-yard TD strike.
This is SicEm365 Radio, presented by IdealMRI.com. When life is stressful, there's an ideal solution. Ideal MRI. Here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Some of the questions or comments today on the SicEm365 chat room. Ask Randy White about changing positions. Paul or Craig, you brought that up, right? From fullback to linebacker to the defensive tackle.
Brought that up. Didn't word it exactly that way, but brought that up and then saw the question afterwards. So great minds think alike.
From Packard, good interview, Smokey, but you lose points when you try to make big words like echocardiogram.
Fair.
Kim fans, Smokey Masters news from here in Augusta. Huh? Georgia fans think that College game day will be at the Masters on the Saturday of the tournament and then cover LSU at Georgia that same day. That is brilliant.
I wonder.
I just hope that's
look. The Masters may think it's great, or they may not, because what you do for College game day, you're bringing in people who are not normally at the Masters.
Yeah. They are on a different wavelength than your typical Masters attendee, I would say. Yeah, to be sure.
I don't think they met inside Augusta National, did they?
Okay.
I can't imagine.
But outside Augusta National is just like a Waffle House and a Chili's,
right?
Because it's tucked away back there. It is like Art Strickland described it the other day. Is that you just walk through into this hidden world?
Waffle House actually would be very College game day, though. I could see that.
All right, so that's some of the things going on. Craig, you had a couple of notes. Barry Switzer will join us momentarily.
Yes, you mentioned the unfortunate news about Travaris Jackson, but there is other news in the NFL going on today. Christian McCaffrey, he has signed a 4-year extension worth around $16 million per year, making him the highest paid running back in NFL history, of course, with Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers. So for all of that talk that I never bought into, I sort of understood the angle, but I never for a second thought it should be legitimate in any way, that folks were talking about he's a running back and he's already got a lot of carries on his body, and in a couple of years he's going to be worn down, and why don't you trade him right now? I just thought that was so ludicrous, but I heard tons of people talking about that. So Matt Rule obviously was more on my wavelength, and they decide to not only invest in him further, but he's going to be the man there. $16 million per year, 4-year extension for one Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, so Zeke's no longer the highest paid running back.
That typically doesn't last very long.
And it doesn't. And then whoever the next quarterback to sign might break the bank, and it's whoever might be Russell Wilson, who's got that right. Is it Russell Wilson? And whenever Mahomes eventually does, you would think that's going to pop. That's going to be the next one. Of course, Dak might sign a contract before the season.
He better not be if he's going to be the highest paid quarterback in NFL history, which I don't see for Dak, but if he is, it better not last long. It better be eclipsed by Mahomes very quickly, which I'd imagine it will be.
It's all about timing. That's why Jared Goff got the deal he got as well. So, it's all about timing, the contracts and all of what you get. We're now joined by Hall of Fame coach Barry Switzer, former Oklahoma great, obviously won a Super Bowl. The last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, Barry Switzer was their head coach. Man, Barry, thank you very much, by the way, for being a part of it. You've been fantastic to jump on with us today. It seems like forever, and it has been forever. Why? Why have the Cowboys failed to reach the Super Bowl or a championship game in a quarter of a century?
Well, they didn't have the players that Jimmy Johnson and I had, Jerry and them put together back before free agency. Remember, they traded Herschel Walker, got about 13 picks.
Yeah.
You can't do that today. You can't trade them. Free agency, and they've been players get siphoned off, and the good players and the draft choices, and it's the parity is out there. And if you don't have the quarterback, you don't win. And right now, it's the way the game is. And that's the best reason I can give you. And I think it's pretty accurate. Why would I tell you something I didn't believe in? I believe that's the truth.
You had great. Sorry, Coach.
We had great talent. we had great players in, and we were deep in all positions, offense and defense. We had skilled players on offense and had players on defense, pass rushers, pass protectors. We had playmakers, and we were a dominant football team. We were dominant for all 4 or 5 years there. And Jimmy had 2 dominant years. I came in and had 2 dominant years, and should have won the Super Bowl my first year. And we had that self-destruction at San Francisco down 21-0 the first 5 minutes of the game. Remember that one?
Yes, sir.
I'll never forget the son of a bitch. We're down just the first 5 minutes, 21-0. You know, and what the hell's coaching got to do with it? I told them if they threw all interceptions, they fumbled, put the ball on the ground, make mistakes, they'll get their butts beat. You know, and that's what we did. First play of the game, we throw an interception. They run it 20 yards. Ricky Jackson for a touchdown, and the linebacker. And then the kickoff to us, and we run the thing out and threw it and hit Michael an 18-yard post route. And Eric Pope strips the ball out, and Merlin Hank picks it up on a rebound and runs it 32 yards for a touchdown. Down 14-0 on 3 plays in offense. They kick off again. Our defense hadn't even been out there. We're down 14-0. Offense gets the ball again, and Kevin Williams runs the ball right back in front of our bench to the 32-yard line on a kickoff return, and he fumbles the ball. Everybody's in the act. The kicking game, you know, the receivers, the quarterback, you know, and so it's a horror show. You know, horror show. You ever thought about it as a coach? What do you say to your team? You know, what do you say to the team when you're down 21-0 in the first 5 minutes of the ball game? You call them up. They all got the eyes. They're all in shock. They can't believe it. They're looking to score. They're going back out to receive their 4th kickoff in the first 5 minutes. What do you say to a football team? You know what I said? I called them all up. I got all those offensive linemen up. I'll never forget the look on Nate Newton's eyes when I said this. Nate, and I said, you know what's great about being down? You just had a smile on my face. You know what's great about being down 21-0 the first 5 minutes of the game? You know what's great about it, guys? You know what the hell great is about it? Because you got 55 minutes to get back in the We only had 5 minutes to still get on the bus and go home. We did. We got back 21-14. Remember in the second quarter. Then minute 20 and a half. I can relive this damn thing. I lived it so many times. A minute and 20 seconds left to go in the second quarter. We just scored on an 80-yard drive. It's 21-14. We just stopped them, got the ball back on the punt. And I tell Ernie Zampese, our offensive coordinator, I said, Ernie, run Emmett 3 times. If we don't make a first down, we ate up the clock and had to punt it. But we could make a first down, and we run out the half with the ball. And we had 80 yards to go. And I know it's the thing to do and be conservative here. We got momentum going. Ernie says, we go get a field goal, Coach. We got it going now. We got it going. I let him talk me into it. We throw 3 incomplete passes. We punt back to San Francisco, and with no time left on the clock, he catches a pass over Brown in the end zone. Rice does a fingertip catch with no time on the clock for a touchdown. Go back up 14 points at half. It makes a different ball game. Calling plays second half, it's totally different, and lost the momentum going into half. We all got our head down now. I'm dog cussing myself all the way to the locker room because I knew in my gut that's the coaching decision. It was on me. I let him talk me into it. I knew the right thing to do, and I didn't do it. And I was pissed off at myself for the rest of the damn game. That this cost us a damn 7 points by not telling the damn coach to run the ball. You heard me, run the football. You know. But that's it. And why did you bring that damn?
I'm so glad I did. Yeah. Barry Switzer joins us.
I can't cuss that like that in Waco, right?
No,
you're good.
This is a Dallas. I'm not up there with Corby right now.
Coach, you have such a great recollection of moments in your career, and your Twitter account is a gold mine at times for anecdotes like Merle Greathouse. You were talking about him just a couple of days ago. Yeah. Where does your sharp memory come from? What do you chalk that up to that you had?
It's like someone wrote, hey, you remember all that? That's because I've lived it. If you lived it in your mind still, you can remember it, you dredge it up. I remember the thing I missed, though, was who the head coach of Jacksboro, Texas was. I thought Chuck Curtis, played quarterback for TCU back in the 50s, mid-50s, remember? Mm-hmm. And beat Texas 6-0 when Texas was undefeated. They were national champions and all that. And they were Chuck Curtis, the 6-0 ball game, TCU. Chuck Curtis threw the fullback, I think. But anyway, what happens is that Merle Greathouse is a great linebacker for Bud here in the 40s. He's an old man in Abilene, Texas. I'm recruiting Jack Meldon out of Abilene Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
This is 1967, and it's going to be in the 68 recruiting class. And so I'm in Abilene, and I get Merle Greathouse to fly me to Jacksboro. I said, we got a chance to get this kid. I believe I was an assistant coach at that time. I was assistant head coach, charge of offense. I said, take me to Jacksboro. And he could put me in the Cessna 182. We flew to Jacksboro. And they don't have an airport in Jacksboro, Texas. They got a cow pasture up there. It's got a grass strip on it, and there's nothing on it but cows. And he had to fly low those cows and scatter the cows because they were on the landing strip, and they all run off the landing strip and make a quick turnaround. He comes back in and lands that thing. You know, it doesn't need about 75 yards to land one. So we land that Cessna. I jump out of it and run over to the fence, climb over a barbed wire fence, get in that on a gravel road and get in a pickup truck, and they drive me to high school to see Glenn King. And Glenn King's fighting for his life right now. He's in Rochester, New York, and got this damn virus, and he's been in there 11, 12 days. He's on a ventilator. I talked to his wife, Betty, a couple of days ago, and stay in contact with her. But, I you know, those things I lived. You brought that story up. I wrote about it on after I put out the notice that Kenny was in the hospital, and I had so many people wrote me. They went to school with him at OU. Some went with him at high school at Jacksboro. They all responded to me, and they appreciated it, and so I kept them up on it. And so it brought back a memory. Some of them wrote me that their dad was coaching. Dan Owen, I believe. Chuck Curtis had left, and Dan Owen, I think, was the coach at Jacksboro. And they had a hell of a football team and a hell of a program, and Kenny King, we signed, and he came to Oklahoma and played on a great 71 team with Mildren, and he was captain of the team, first black captain of OU history of football team. So, you know, he was a good kid, good player from Jacksboro, Texas. So that was why that came on. But anyway, that was in '67, but that's been a while.
Coach,
no, I've been fortunate. I got pretty good genes. I'm not talking about Levi's or Wranglers or anything like that. I've got pretty good genetics. I'm able to keep pretty sharp and stuff.
Recruiting is such a grind, but it sounds to me like you really leaned in and enjoyed that part of the job.
I probably was better at that than I did anything, than X's and O's and all that. I had coaches that were a hell of a lot better than I was at that. But I was a disciplined guy and coaching football, and I believe in certain things, and we were going to do those things. But I didn't go much outside that. But you know, a lot of the guys that experiment, do different things and formations, movement, and look for that's they kind of give the game today. But I ran a play 1,000. I had a fullback one day asked me, says, "Coach, why we run this play 1,000 times?" And I looked at him. I said, "Because 999 ain't enough." And that's it. I looked, to make sure you execute and run the play right against every defensive structure that you got out there. You have to have that type of ability to do it. Run it again if you'll run that type of offense. But that we ran. But what the hell was I? I get off on too many damn subjects.
No, you love the recruiting part of it. You just
I did. I thought recruiting was that's the key. It's always been the key. Talent and ability. You got to have good coaches, but you better have good talent to coach in the field out there, and that's the difference. And it's always been the difference. And I worked hard at it. I believed in it. I had the ability to reach kids, and kids believed in me. They trusted me. Mamas and daddies did too, and I just always had that ability to reach people, and I think that was a great asset to have. I think a lot of coaches can do that today, but I was, another thing we were ahead of people on too. I was doing the right thing before. I was doing the right thing in recruiting before everyone else was. I was recruiting all players, the best players at all positions. And I'm talking about I was playing black quarterback in 1971. Mm-hmm. No one was recruiting black players in the Southwest Conference or the SEC. And we recruited quarterback, every position, offensive guard, defensive tackle. It was then the Southwest Conference started some skilled players after we kicked their butts up several years in a row. Daryl rolled Texas in, and I didn't ever lose to Daryl, it was Daryl knew really the writing on the wall. He had to start recruiting the best players, and then everyone else did. Finally, the SEC, but I did that before anyone else did, and it was the right thing to do. And we're recruiting the best players at all positions.
Can you imagine what you would do now? The popularity of your program and who you were already getting. Would you have needed even a transfer portal?
Well, no, you're giving me too much credit. You make me believe. I'm not going to believe that stuff. I don't believe it. And it's Lincoln Riley. I couldn't do as good as Lincoln Riley is. Lincoln Riley's got the greatest situation to be able to. In the games today, the game is played today. Lincoln Riley coaches the quarterbacks. He recruits the quarterbacks. He spends all his time with the quarterbacks. He lives with the quarterbacks. He showers with the quarterbacks. The guy, any quarterback, top quarterback in the country would love to have that situation. I mean, most head coaches go out and recruit quarterbacks. That's the last time they spend a lot of time with the guy. You know what I mean? He's here on the field. Yeah, he spends time with, but not like the offensive coordinator does. Now, those two live together. They spend all their time off the field and on the field together, and meeting rooms, and so many sessions you have with them. And Lincoln's I think that's a tremendous advantage Lincoln's got in recruiting quarterbacks. In style of offense he's got, he's going to get top receivers in the country. He's going to get the top quarterbacks. You knock on the door and you're a top quarterback, and it's Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, you're going to let him in. He's coming in the house. He's going to get to talk to you.
Coach,
no, it's a different deal today. It's national recruiting. They go all over the country, and they only recruit 20 a year or something like that, sometimes 18, 19, but with this 85 limit, and attrition's on the way you open up scholarships, and it's it's a different deal. Everybody's got to go after good players, because whoever you recruit's going to be on the football field playing. So you better get some good players, because they're going to have to play. And so Lincoln, I'd say Lincoln has a tremendous advantage today in the recruiting.
Coach,
I was looking at
on Lincoln, when did he first get kind of on your radar? I mean, I assume probably when he got to OU as an assistant coach, but
no, I knew about him long before that. See,
okay,
I'm a Mike Leach is a great friend of mine, and Tech's real smart getting rid of him, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Washington State, I knew he was going to leave there. No one wants to recruit Pullman, Washington, coach in Pullman, Washington, but he's been everywhere he's been. He wins 10 games. It takes the bottom seller programs, and he turns them around and wins 9 and 10 games. You know what? He will beat people at Mississippi State in that league, SEC, playing a tough league. He's got to play Alabama, Georgia, people he's going to beat some people that he wasn't supposed to beat. I promise you he'll do that. And he'll get better, and all of a sudden he's going to start getting top quarterbacks and top receivers in that league. And they'll all have some big defensive players, they'll all have guys that can run there. And they always have had that. And but I expect, I've always wanted him to have a chance to get in a great program. And this isn't a great program at all, but it's a place where he can really catapult himself. He told me, Lincoln Riley, when Bob hired him, Stoops hired him, he told me, he says, Lincoln Riley is the best offensive coordinator or assistant coach I've ever had. And he said, without a doubt. And of course, when you look at what he did when he was at East Carolina before they hired him, they were the top 5 every year offensive statistics. So he was doing that with the talent they had at East Carolina. That he was the top 5 offensive program in the country every year he was there. So,
you just mentioned you told me a minute ago you were on a conference call. You're not doing that Zoom thing, are you? You're not.
We will do. I have partners in the other businesses. I'm in business. We have Zoom that we'll do. We have to do some, FaceTime with them, and you have to do that today. We're quarantined. Hell, I got a beard, guys. I'm growing a beard. I've never grown a beard for 2 years. I've gotten a pretty good beard started here. It looks pretty good. I told him I'm not going to cut it till we get a cure for this crap we got out here today. But I'm enjoying being at home, but I'm working like hell here. I work every day hard, and conference call when you called a minute ago. I got to have some more time here.
Coach,
get on one right after this.
Can you and Coach Leach get together and do some sort of event, like an evening, a fireside chat that we can all just come to? And I'd buy tickets to that in a heartbeat.
Well, I know a lot of people would. We've had those before. We get a bottle of wine, eat some good Italian food, and we'll talk for hours. Have a lot of stories to tell. Start talking a little offensive football. It's we've got he's enjoyable. I like him. He's I was in he lives in down in Key West, and he told me about this famous bar he liked to go to, and I would have to be on a cruise and stopped in out of Fort Lauderdale. And our first stop was Key West. Port of call was there. I went to the bar, and he said he had his face and a name on a stool, and that place was packed. I went in there, went around everybody, tapped him on the shoulder. Can I look where your bar seats are looking at? And I finally found it. And everybody looking at me, asking them to get up, let them see the seat they're sitting on. I finally found it and held it up, and had someone take my picture, holding his seat up where I could send it to him. I told him I found it, but it was already taken. But Mike and I are great friends, and we talk all the time. And so I'll probably visit with him this week sometime.
Coach, how close do you think Oklahoma is? I know you just said Lincoln's gonna get those wins, but I mean they've been knocking on the door of these national championship opportunities. Bob had a few, and unfortunately could only get that.
We're
that
not
first
good
one.
enough. We're not good enough, guys. I mean, we're not good enough now. We don't have the depth and talent in the line. The people with the hands on the ground. The SEC's got too many big, stronger, more physical type players, and we have physicality of the SEC is so much better than the Midwest and in the Southwest. This area, Texas got several because of the population that down in the Houston area on the ground. But in the southern part, southern states have got all the big physical talent, and you know that. You look at the draft every damn year. Just look at where they come from, where they're drafted. Mm-hmm. But we don't have them back. If we had skilled people, we've had the backs, we've had the receivers, we've had the quarterbacks, but we haven't had enough of the other guys that. And our guys are good. I'm not taking away from them, but they're not good enough. Right? That's just a step below everybody else. And the SEC, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the LSU's, guys like that. Auburn's got damn good players, and they're all in that belt down through there. That's got tremendous. We don't have black players in Oklahoma and Nebraska and Kansas up here. The population, you don't have it. Arkansas has got a few, but they don't have enough people in the damn state to produce enough blue chip players. And maybe one or two can play in that damn league every year, come out of high school in Arkansas. I mean, play it to win championships. You know what I mean? Be good enough player. I turned down when I was coaching in Oklahoma. I turned down a lot of players in Oklahoma that were damn good. I knew could play at other schools, but I only took the best here and got the rest out of Texas. But I was recruiting 30 good players. We used to recruit 50 a year back before they put in the 30 limit in 72. And we had it better back then, and we didn't have to be as highly selective. I took a lot of players that I knew in a couple of years they could be players. They had all the quickness and the speed and all that and frame and all, but they weren't physically ready to play yet. So I had time to develop them. You don't have time to develop kids today. You got to recruit them damn near good enough, big enough to play, and because they're going to be playing in a year after you got them here.
You won 3 national titles. You rarely ever lost a game at Oklahoma. What was it like after you did?
After I won,
what was it like to be in Oklahoma with the dominance you had when you were there? I mean, your record is insane. What was it like in Norman around town if you did lose a game?
Oh, it's like it is today. Everybody's disappointed. I don't pay much attention to what people say or do. I didn't read the papers. I didn't give a damn about what all those guys second guess you after it's over with. But no, I didn't. I never let that influence me, and I never was concerned, felt any pressure at all. I just want all our guys to go out, bust their butt, and do our job, and try to be successful and compete. And in most cases, we won 12 Big 8 conference championships in 16 years. We in the 70s in the 70s, we won 9 consecutive Big 8 conference championships. So think about that. They talking about the back here, won 4 in a row. And I said, hell, we did 9 in a row. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you know what? Let me tell you, the thing that upsets me, someone tweeted out that Lincoln Riley, and this was on Twitter, you might have seen, well, his first 34 games, he was 30-4, and I got to look and jump back, and I said, hell, I was 32-1-1 in my first 34 games. And he said, we had 2 undefeated seasons and 2 national championships. And he's making $7 million a year. I was making $24,000. I made $24,000 a year. Didn't get a bonus for going to bowl. We didn't go to bowl that first year, 74, when we won undefeated national champions, and you should have won at 73. We've tied Southern Cal, who was 19-0. They were defending national champions. We tied them and went undefeated the rest of the year. And they didn't give us national champions. They voted against us. I was a rookie coach, and it was all, you know, there's a lot of politics in that with sports writers, and they vote. And then we go play, win the next 2 years in a row. So we won 2 in a row. We damn near won 3 in a row. Mm-hmm. We only lost 1 game in that period of time. Those guys that played in that era. We won. We were 72-9 in the 70s. 72-9.
Yeah. Believe me, I know. I was a lifelong Nebraska fan. I know exactly what you were.
Yeah.
Hey, Barry, I know you got to go. You reached back out after I contacted you. You are an amazing. What you've done. You have some of the things that people don't even know about. What you've done behind the scenes for people in need. Just appreciate you, really do, and I love listening to whatever segments you might have.
Hey, but coaches recruit them; they got them for life, and I think most coaches that way. They're just an extension of your family. Who are the first people a kid you recruit's gonna call? Most time they didn't have a daddy. That's one guy recruiting, and they ain't gonna call their mama. The mama can't help them. They call their coach.
Yep.
And that's exactly, that's the first people I hear from. Hey, listen, and I want to mention something. I got a cousin over in Carthage, Texas. Her name is Summer Surratt. Switzer Surratt. She's married to Scott Surratt. Now, let me tell you, he done a hell of a job at Carthage.
He is, it's crazy. It's a dynasty, and they just won it again.
Yeah, it is. And he makes about $150,000 to $200,000 a year. he makes more money than I ever made coaching at OU.
Crazy.
I can't wait for me to send this podcast link to him. Oh. Hey, Coach, thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
all right,
David, take care.
All right, that's Barry Switzer.
He's a national treasure.
He really is. He's incredible. And that is the first SOB dropped in SicEm365 Radio history. He also threw a damn in there. Thank goodness we're on the internet.
Yeah.
But, hey, that's Barry Switzer. That's how you want him. You want him all the way turned up. And we had a comment on the text line about, Mike Leach, and he'd be a great interview. And, of course, Leach is a talker himself. But, I mean this with all due respect. I don't know how they get a word in with each other if those two are talking it up. But, man, what an interesting conversation that must be, Mike Leach and Barry Switzer hanging out.
My God.
If you had an event at a convention center where it was a dinner with Coaches Switzer and Leach, and you charged $200 a ticket, I would pony up right away, because you wouldn't even need a host. You wouldn't even need a host. You would essentially just need a PA announcer to be, ladies and gentlemen, here are coaches Mike Leach and Barry Switzer
and
presenting
go up.
a fireside chat. You just throw the spot on them, and then they just start talking about whatever. I would just maybe leave a stack of index cards and let them draw and be like, all right, here's how we like our eggs cooked. Go.
Yeah.
Coming up next, Adam McClintock. He's a CFB _professor. He's got a decade-long college football playoff. Baylor has 5 teams among the 128. How did he go about doing this? How long will it take to find out the winner? That's next on SicEm365 Radio.
Are you in the market for a new home? Are you trying to sell your home? Are you looking to upsize or downsize? You'll need a realtor in your corner that can guide you through anything that you'll encounter.
Contact my good friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. Let them be your go-to source as you search for that home. Lance is a great dude. I love talking to Lance. He's funny. He'll put you very much at ease. He will walk you through everything you need to do. He's also going to get to know you on the level that you need to know, where you're going to have all those things you need in that new home, or what you're looking for in trying to sell your home. Lance and his team can do that for you. Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713, or online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sauce and drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people, living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, in a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Here we go, SicEm365 Radio. Thanks to those of you who have contacted us today on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, including our great friend Leon. One of the things he said, I expect excellence from you guys, but man, I'm impressed. This is enjoyable radio. Thank you so much. There's been other responses, like you've had Paul, Craig, was it Matt in D.C. about the Matt rule, what you mentioned. We got him?
He has to do it tomorrow. He said he told you tomorrow.
He did.
He said.
That's okay, because no one can follow up what we just had.
No. Let's just replay Barry Switzer to lead the show today.
We could.
I love, man, he's got so many great stories, and we just scratched the surface. But I'm telling you, some people be like, oh, well, he was the Oklahoma coach, so I don't want to follow him. But it's Barry Switzer. He transcends that, man. And he has some great anecdotes. Like the one I brought up, he had talked about it just a couple of days ago, and then he mentioned that he had brought it up because of his former player dealing with coronavirus. But he just has so many great little stories and makes you feel like you're there. I mean, he's talking about the plains and the cow pasture and, running the cow and all this stuff, and he just goes into such detail, and I love reading them. I love reading his throwbacks to yesteryear and recruiting battles and things like that. And his book, I don't know how available it really is now, but a book he wrote a long time ago called Bootlegger's Boy is great college football reading if you can get your hands on a copy of it. I'm fortunate to have an old copy.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's great.
But it's a good sports book for you to check out, especially during this time.
It will take you back to some time. And listen, I know there's people who don't like him at all. Don't like him. He's the Oklahoma coach. He's not the Texas coach. And Switzer in Oklahoma, were accused of a lot of things, and they raided Texas or whatever. The guy was an amazing football coach. And he is, I'll tell you some unbelievable stories about him. Just go watch his Twitter feed, like the one with Glenn King that he just mentioned, the coronavirus. It's @Barry_Switzer. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's just so fun. I mean, you just listen to a guy who just enjoyed what he did. And I think that you can grab a lot of joy from hearing someone's joy. And that's why I like listening to people like Barry Switzer tell stories. I could listen to him, forever and ever and he's just tons of them. That recall of the first half of the 94 NFC title game was insane.
And that's, I asked him just based off of the anecdotes I read on Twitter. That was just like impromptu recollection of the entire thing.
Yeah, Kevin Williams comes out to the 32-yard line. How did you remember it was the 32?
I have to.
Yeah, the 32.
Yeah, I have to sit and think about what I had for lunch yesterday. Give us some thought of what. Yeah, okay, a hot dogs. Yeah, but he just like that just remembers everything.
Still will never forget. My mother-in-law, Craig's grandmother, had been diagnosed with.
Cancer?
She was dying. She had cancer, and it was squeezing her lungs. And so I reached out to him because she was probably the ultimate Oklahoma fan that I could ever remember.
She was born and raised in Shawnee, Oklahoma, which is not that far outside of Norman. Family of Sooners, and so it was just Sooner through and through.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and so I just happened to reach out to him. I'm just. One of those things where I said, I have his number because we've had him on the show before, and I told him the story. And he, that day, called the hospital and got to her room and called her and had this chat with her. I don't know if it was for 2 minutes or 10 minutes, but that was something that went a long, long way. I mean, it was stunning that he would do that. He took my call, then he would turn around and call. Like later on that afternoon, he was driving back from Norman to where he lives. Just an amazing man. I know a lot of people don't like him. There's some people that never will like him. He was not Jimmy Johnson. He wasn't UT. But I'm telling you, he's like Jerry Jones. If you got in a room with him, you not like him. You got in a room with him, you'll walk out of there, you'd be amazing. Just to hear the stories. By the way, Nate Newton, who he brought up in that story about being down 21-0, he'll join us tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, love Nate. Nate's got some great stories. You mentioned Jerry Jones and Barry Switzer. Sometimes I think, we create this persona of famous people in our head of this person is a jerk.
We do that with just regular people, too.
But because they're famous or I don't like this person because they're with this team. I'll just tell you personally, so when I was a young kid, my dad took me because he had clients that were Gator fans. And so we went to a couple dinners with Steve Spurrier. I remember thinking, man, that guy's pretty funny. And then when I went to Florida State, I decided I didn't like him anymore. And then, the rivalry went through and all that. But then I'd start listening to Steve Spurrier after he's not the coach there and my blinders are off. And I'm thinking, man, I miss this dude. And so just because he's got good stories, he's funny, and you have a good time, I don't understand why we can't just get to know the person and then say, look, I don't like the shirt he wears because he's for the team I don't like, but, man, the guy's great.
I'll tell you, man, it's interesting what if had he not run afoul and his program run afoul. Now, granted, it had to end. Charles Thompson's on the cover of Sports Illustrated in an orange prison jumpsuit.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing just got way too out of control, but my gosh, he could still be coaching Oklahoma. Had that been different. But hey, that's everybody's life story if something had been different. But he had 3 national titles. Bob had 1, and he won it in his second year. And then he coached for like 20 years and could never, no matter how many times they got back, it lost to LSU in the national title game a few years later. Lost to USC badly. Leinart and Bush and those guys, and
lost to Florida.
And that great Florida squad that had like just all-stars everywhere. Hernandez, Tebow, Pouncey's, all those guys, Harvin. And then, been in the playoff a couple times and have yet to win a game there. It just shows you how incredibly difficult it is to win a national title. And they've been in the mix. I want to say they're like 1 in 6 or 7 in the last 20 years in national championship opportunities. Yeah, they could have like 13 national titles right now.
They could be Alabama.
Yeah.
I experienced that early on because of Switzer. That's what Osborne had to deal with for many, many years. Now, speaking of a long, long wait for championships, I mentioned this to Paul earlier. We will have tomorrow on the show, Nate Newton's going to be at 5, Mac Rhodes 4:20, John McClain 5:30, and McClintock's, I think, going to be Wednesday. But that's okay. He's got this decade-long college football playoff. Baylor's got 5 teams listed among the 128. And also Kurt Schilling is going to join us. And how long was it, Paul? 80, 90, 100 years?
86 years.
86 years until 2004 when the Red Sox finally buried the evil of the Yankees coming back from 3-0. He'll join us tomorrow. That's just part of our guest for tomorrow.
I don't think Paul's excited enough for Schilling or Charlie Ward.
I'll tell you, I'm busting. For Schilling, I thought about, when I was trying to apply to team games I would want to watch again and again. We were thinking about that last week. When you mentioned Schilling, I thought, would I want to watch the bloody sock game again? And would it still, even though I know what happens, it might still give me anxiety. You text me yesterday about the final round of the Masters being on. I turned it on. I knew what happened, and I was getting anxiety watching it again. Yeah, I was.
And I have not been turning on. I mean, the television has been off, as I've said many times in the last week. And really, before that, I just haven't watched anything. And it's not just because there's no live sports. I just haven't really felt like something like, I got to watch this. Now, there's something I saw on ESPN Plus, which I've kind of argued against. Our good friend Nick on Twitter has said, hey, you need to, Saban's going to do some sort of a documentary about, I think a lot of it has to do with the quarterback at LSU.
Joe Burrow. Yeah.
Joe Burrow, but that's on ESPN Plus. It'll be interesting. Those things that will tweak my interest, but I had it on all the televisions, Masters. I knew the ending, but there's certain parts of it you do forget.
Hey, Brooks Koepka's putt.
Yeah. So that was fun. And then I actually went on YouTube and watched one of the best moments ever in Nebraska football history, which, of course, was back when they had reel-to-reel film, because it seems like it's been that long since they did.
ESPN Plus may be worth it for some folks because it's a low-priced subscription. It's like $5, which is really good compared to what a lot of the other outlets will charge you. But if you bundle it up with Disney Plus and Hulu, that's really where you get your bang for your buck.
Well, especially if you're trying to sell it to your family.
Yes, that's the way to do it, in my opinion, is if you're going to go with ESPN Plus and you're not worried about spending another extra $10, get Hulu and Disney Plus, and then you've got a wealth of things to watch during this time period. I do have a couple of relatively local notes that I would like to pass along. For one, in college basketball, Umoja Gibson, a former basketball standout at University High School. He's been playing at North Texas the last couple of seasons. He announced today, very fitting, we just hung up with Barry Switzer, Umoja Gibson, formerly of University High, is transferring from North Texas to Oklahoma. So that's where he will finish out his college basketball career, And also a high school football note. Matt Stepp had this earlier, but you had a coaching change today. Thorndale now open as Scott Hawkins has elected to leave. And at the time that Matt posted this, he had not yet talked to him, but has since posted that Hawkins is leaving to go join Coach Jeff Walker's staff at Liberty Hill. So Thorndale now open, and got to think that coaching searches are really interesting during this time period.
Speaking of which, Brian Cope, who's at Lake Belton.
Yes.
He reached out to me before we started, and I said, I'd like to get some human interest. He's trying to hire 25 coaches in all this. He's gotten everybody, like 7 of his 10 football coaches are hired. The other sports, I think, are filled up, but it surely makes it difficult. Thorndale last year was 9-3. Hawkins was there for 5 years. His first year, they were 1-9, 4-7, 5-7, 8-2, 9-3. So the kind of nice progress you see in Liberty Hill, that's a good football team.
Yeah.
It's a really good football team. I don't know what they are now with the newest realignment, how things have changed, but they were good back in the day. I remember when they just obliterated a Jeff Traylor team one time at Gilmer when they were, I say obliterated, but beat them, and they were really, really good and won a state title.
You know what happened to them in the last few years, though, is they started running into La Vegas. La Vega with their great run. Liberty Hill's in that new district with
Lampasas,
Marble Falls, Burnett, those types of, it looks like Crockett and all those.
That was a game that Liberty Hill and La Vega, that went like double overtime, 6-0.
Yeah.
It was a lot of crazy
I
weather.
think that was our first ever road game, you and I working together.
We had China Spring played
there, and I'll never...
Well, the first ever road game was Mejia.
Okay, yeah, and then we did, the next one was Liberty Hill, but Craig, in this game, something I'd never seen before, the opening kickoff, the Liberty Hill went to about the 2.5-yard line, the Liberty Hill kick returner caught it, took 2 gigantic steps backwards and kneeled down in the end zone. And that's how the game started.
For a safety, yeah.
That district, by the way, I just want to clear it up. Marble Falls with Austin Crockett, Austin McCallum, Austin Navarro, Austin Northeast, Austin Travis, and there's Liberty Hill joining all those schools. So they'll be in 5A.
You mentioned the Masters, and of course, some people like to watch golf, and some don't. Even people who like to play golf sometimes may not like to watch it, but that's okay. The PGA Tour, this is about a week ago, when they decided they're going to put the newest dates for the major championships. June, which is around Father's Day weekend, they still have to confirm this. They want that to be some sort of the first PGA Tour event that would come back. The Open Championship was going to be at Royal St. George's, was canceled in July. They want to play the possible event in July. Let's see, the PGA Championship, which is in August. That used to be the time. Remember, they moved it up to the spring. Mm-hmm. That is in August, and then the Tour Championship at the first week in September. The U.S. Open would be in the middle of September. The Ryder Cup at the end of September, and then the Masters in November, 9th through the 15th.
I'll tell you, too, in terms of folks getting back, the UFC obviously got derailed, as we talked a little bit about last week, with basically Gavin Newsom and California as a state, using their power with the Disney network to subsequently get that that UFC event called off that they were going to hold on an Indian reservation or casino there in California. Dana White has now said, they called this off, but we can promise you we're going to this place and we're going to have a big, big show whenever we can finally get the all clear. He also guaranteed they will be the first professional sports league that is back and running live events when the time does come and they do get an all clear of sorts. And very interesting as far as just people trying to get back to somewhat of a normal. The XFL, those filings that came out today were very interesting to look through. And we talked about this a little bit last week. WrestleMania was an entirely different event, but apparently Vince McMahon's feeling a little bit of that pinch, as I kind of said, and now you see the XFL folding, but they announced over the weekend that they're going to get back to running live events, not with fans in attendance, but instead of, kind of being quarantined, so to speak, they're still going to have these shows where there's no fans allowed and it's closed set with a certain amount of people, but they had kind of backed away from that, and now I can only imagine it's because of, feeling the pinch with their new TV partnerships and contracts and things that they're saying all our shows are going to get back to taping just with no fans. So there's at least some momentum towards some movement of what was kind of normal.
One final note on Barry Switzer, then we take a break and come back and wrap it up, Paul, or are we just going to keep going?
You can just keep going.
Grant Taft told me one story. I didn't have a chance to share it with Barry Switzer, and that I'm going to listen to that again tonight. Paul, you know what time it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Woodrow.
For Woodrow to go walking at the park in the
what
background.
A dog. I mean, that's an alpha dog. That has been so amazing for the first 6 days. The thunder and lightning on Friday got Woodrow a little bit.
Yeah.
How was he with the tornado warning on Saturday night?
He came and sat under this desk, and I couldn't get him down. I was trying to get him down to the middle closet there. Because I was, I woke up and my phone went off, and so I was trying to coax him down here. He was just sitting under the desk here, and he was like, "No, I'm good up here."
So, Grant Taft told me they had a commitment from Billy Sims, and then
I've heard this story.
Switzer swooped in, and
This is a hotel story,
he
right?
He sequestered him.
Yeah.
Like a jury.
He bought 2 rooms, or they had 2 hotel rooms. And they were adjoining. He put Billy in one room. He was in the other room. And the way I remember the story was he then took his car, he parked it out front of the hotel doors so that no coach could walk up and bang on Billy's door without him knowing about it and that was the night before signing day, and then got up that next morning, I guess pulled the car off the sidewalk and took him over to where he needed to be to sign his letter of intent.
Well, so one of the things he also did before that even happened was knowing that Baylor was in the mix for Billy Sims, they were beating the doors off of Baylor in a game. And it was 28-0 at halftime, which of course back then might have well been 56.
Right, yeah.
And especially with the OU run of the bone and everything that they did. And so, and Billy Swins tells this story, it's fantastic. Barry Switzer called him on the phone at halftime, and because it was the national television game or whatever, the local TV game, and says, "Hey, Billy, how you doing?" It's Barry Switzer. And he's like, hey? He's like, "Aren't you playing?" He's like, "Yeah, that's fine. We're good.
We're good.
We're
yeah.
all right.
Wow.
Everything's going well. We're up by a bunch. I just want to see if you're watching the game." He's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm watching the game." He's like, "All right, just making sure you're seeing that we're beating Baylor. It's 28-0 at halftime. Hope you're doing well. Say hi to your family for me. All right, gotta go."
What a flex that is. Wow. Man.
Well, we just lost everyone listening to us at SicEm 365. No, and here's the thing. This is what I was thinking when you were telling that story, and Craig, you were telling that story. And, there was a time when it was different. And yes, some programs were pushing and crossing the lines a lot more than others. But now you look back at those are stories that can make you laugh, even if you're mad about losing a recruit. It's like the one junior college player that a coach at Angelina College sequestered a young man from Shelbyville High School that had won a state title. Darren Chumley, I think his name was. Put him up in a hotel.
Well, there's no point in being mad about it at this point. I mean, they're fun to just look back on.
Those stories, that's the history and stories. Now, you do that now, Twitter would implode.
Hey, I just watched, and the other thing is
I
like
watched
in the
the
grand
scheme, by the way.
scheme.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, and
I did too. Yeah.
Here's what I found out of the scheme. I really don't like Christian Dawkins. I don't feel sorry for him at all. I do feel sorry that he got caught up in something that was well over his head, and I don't think deserves FBI interference.
Right.
But especially maybe a little bit of entrapment. But, you see all that stuff going on right there. That's tame. Putting a kid in a hotel room so another coaches can talk to him is tame by comparison, and going to his, funneling money to his parents and all these things. It's tame.
All right, so that's going to wrap up. Craig, what episode?
Episode number 6.
Number 6, week number 2 has begun. It's amazing that just a week ago today, I remember ending the show with you guys, and I had this adrenaline rush that my heart was just like pumping out of my chest. And here we are in day 6. Colt Barber and Paul have been working on Colt Barber and F5, the server for SicEm365.com. They have put up, our link has been updated. It's SicEm365.com/live. You can find it on Periscope and YouTube and Facebook and their site, and SicEm365.com and Twitter. But we're so close to the next level. And we understand that we have to get our app built. And we are doing everything we can to make that easy, so you will have background audio rather than if somebody texts you and it knocks you off.
Yes.
We understand that. We absolutely understand it. Here's another thing. We are closing in, and Paul's working on a couple of those meetings this week. We understand it, and we're going to fix it. And we're going to make it better for you. Secondly, we will be able to start not on a constant basis, but we want to take calls from you. And Paul knows that that's all. I want to do that, and I'm not really pushing that, but we are now a step closer to being able to do that, because we want to hear from you other than just the text line brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine or the chat room. We want to hear your voice. You're a part of this. You're a family. These are all things that, as good as we feel like as nice as the first 6 days have gone, first 6 shows, we're going to get better. Just because our chemistry is almost like natural, but we're going to get better. We are going to continue to add more bells and whistles thanks to Ashley Hodge and Brian Etheridge and Colt Barber, Grayson Grunhaper, Jason King, and then the 3 of us.
And I can tell you, too, with in particular with Jason, that means not only for the radio show, but they're always all looking to get better, just the site in general. And so we got some some more pieces, written pieces, that'll be coming out at some point over the next few days that people have been working on, including myself. Sent them an email last night about something. So, yeah, the content doesn't stop when the radio show ends. SicEm365.com's got plenty for you to keep you entertained.
And the premium is there. You don't have to have a premium membership to listen to us. That's important that it's free. But if you want extra, like bells and whistles with that, you have that because of those articles. Yep.
It's support for the show by being a premium member. Like you said, it's not required, but that's ultimately the goal, is to up the premium memberships and get more people involved in that community. So, yeah, weigh your options, but certainly if you get the opportunity, especially when the news ramps up, definitely try out the premium side of things.
Thanks to Ideal MRI, our title sponsor, and the SicEm365 Radio Wall, the founding sponsors, Petty Clinic Low T, First National Bank of Central Texas, Waco Custom Marketplace, Boozer's Jewelers, Camille Johnson Realtors, Edward Jones, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Tom Albers, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lance Donaldson Realty, Westdale Investment, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, Stonewood Dental, McLean Group, Milo, Tyler Candle Company, Christy London at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. This is SicEm365. Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodway. PettyClinicLowT.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.